I was told by many that this guy is really good at what he does. So let's just see what this is about.
Once again, one at a time. If you haven't been paying attention, I'm breaking down these records in the order that they were released, which means we're now at Family Matters for Drake. And before I even get started, like, you guys do realize that it is very possible to be a fan of two artists at the same time, right? Like, this is indeed possible. And
no, this shit's a fucking war now, bro. So, no, it's not possible.
I fully understand that I'm not getting any popularity points for giving Drake any sort of compliments for this record. I know for a fact that if I approached this breakdown in a way where I completely all over it, I'd get way better feedback from the audience, but I'd also be lying.
I wonder why is that, chat? Can someone explain, can someone try to explain what that is? And I'm not going to pause this much, but tell me what it is, bro. Do you know what it is?
Because Drake does indeed make some great points on this record. And I also truly believe that as the years go by, this breakdown will be appreciated and respected. Now, before we even look at Family Matters, we need to look at what Drake was doing on social media leading up to the track, as he posted several things online. First, Drake posted a photo of his son Adonis looking into a mirror with the caption, "Mirror time Crody," and this in itself has a couple meanings. First off, Drake is directly responding to Kendrick's shots on Euphoria, where he mocked Toronto slang.
Don't speak on the family, Crody. It can get deep in the family, Crody.
Secondly, Kendrick has mentioned a mirror in several songs throughout his career.
I still can't. Oh my god, bro! It just annoys me so much how people react to what Kendrick says, and then just completely dismiss Drake like you're actually the dick riders, bro. It's fucking sad, bro.
Behind the mirror, I know what you're scared of. The feeling emotions inferior. Sometimes I look in the mirror and ask myself, and every day that glass mirror get tougher to watch.
However, the more obvious reason for Drake's reference here was with respect to a track on Mr. Morale called Mirror, and this was the outro of the album where he touches on things like self-reflection and internal growth.
Not about who's right, who's wrong. Evolve the only thing known.
We also got an Instagram post from Kendrick's fiance Whitney where she says, "Sometimes the mirror is a harsh critic. Shit can get real ugly. I'm proud of the work we've done individually and as a family. Kendrick Lamar, thank you for your transparency. Healing can begin." So Drake is telling Kendrick, it's mirror time. It's time for some reflecting again. And next, Drake would post a video from the movie The Equalizer starring Denzel Washington.
I'm going to kill each and every one of you, and the only disappointment in it for me is that I only get to do it once.
And it was just a couple hours later where Drake would post a photo of some caution tape, metaphorically warning everyone about the drop. And then finally he posted a doctored version of the cartoon Ren and Stimpy, depicting Stimpy as an owl looking at a red button. And as you guys know, Drake has mentioned this red button on many tracks before.
If I press it,
The way this guy's explaining this is like, I like it, bro. I like it.
red button, dog. Everybody having gated. Press this red button, dog, and every.
Dude, you see these fucking losers in the chat typing cringe, bro? Dude. What's cringe, bro? I guarantee dude, anything Kendrick has done, this whole thing, you eat it up. Anything, it doesn't matter. Anything he says or does, you eat it up. Anything Drake does, you shit on it. Dude, you're fucking weird, bro. You're actually weird. You're a fucking robot, bro. You don't have a brain of your own. You are a bot programmed. You can't think for yourself. Just like the guy said at the beginning of the video. You know you can like two artists at once, right?
Everything forever changes.
Next, we need to take a look at the track that got entirely overlooked as it was posted with Family Matters, but only on Drake's Instagram account. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about the Buried Alive Part 2 track.
Yes.
Now, if you didn't watch my 616 breakdown, definitely check that out because that's also a theme in that record. On part 2, Drake cleverly mocks Kendrick's original concept.
If you was in a pine box, I would surely break the lock.
In a pine box, I would shovel dirt on top.
And just a little backstory on the original Buried Alive track because this is important. The last 3 bars of the song was written from Drake's perspective, and this was something that Kendrick revealed in a 2011 Double XL interview. And again, I dove way deeper into why Kendrick wrote this from Drake's perspective in the 616 breakdown. So Drake is really taking a chance to mock Kendrick with this Buried Alive Part 2 track, and this was supposed to be like a cherry on top for Family Matters, but it definitely did not work out that way, as Drake would eventually delete this.
If you was in a pine box, I would still be in my spot.
Drake starts off the mocking by insinuating that even if Kendrick was dead, which is unfortunately when people are truly celebrated, that Drake would still be ahead of him. It's a story as old as time, right? Nipsey, Dolph, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, all these guys get immortalized after they pass away.
Looking in the mirror, still embarrassed. Stop talking, how you gonna spare us?
Drake states that Kendrick is still insecure about his position in hip-hop, and even 13 years later, Drake is still big bro. It's exactly how it was on the original Buried Alive track. And this is where he's rebuttaling Kendrick's claims about sparing him on Euphoria.
I can double down on that line, but spare you this time. There's random acts of kindness.
And we'd soon learn that Kendrick would indeed double down because we got Meet the Grams and then we got Not Like Us.
React like an infant whenever I mention. It's like you need tension, I always get attention.
And if you're not familiar with the original Buried Alive track, Drake really is matching this stylistically pretty well bang on. So Drake plays a pretty good angle here, as there are many examples of Kendrick using conflict to his advantage. For example, the Control verse was amazing, but let's be real, had he not name dropped all those rappers, it would have been totally forgettable. No, bro, he was shaking up the game. No, he did that for attention. Kendrick Lamar did Control to get attention. That's facts. Then we've got the BET freestyle where he dissed Drake and then denied doing it after. And while he does do his thing in that cypher, without this element, it wouldn't have caused much buzz. That was the only reason why the cypher made headlines.
This is the first thing that I said. I remember I was in Aruba. I remember when this shit happened, bro. People were hitting me up. And I think it's when Like That came out. And I stood before I even heard it, bro, I was like, dude, this dude Kendrick, like, it's like, if it's not like some like dissing shit, who's even talking about him like that? Like, it's just, they're just not, bro. Not today. Now, because Drake had to respond. Now it's different. But it's like, dude, like, it's always like these just shots and just, I mean, he's been doing this for, look, fucking 10 years, bro. He's been doing this shit, bro.
Lines, and he's done similar shock value things like the Heart Part 4, and now again, he did it on the Like That record. And let's not sugarcoat it. These were massive moments for Kendrick. And J. Cole said the exact same thing.
Well, I got here off of bars, not no controversy.
So both Drake and J. Cole feel the exact same way.
You always say how you want to bury me alive. Jealousy disguised as your motherfucking pride.
So coming off the last line about seeking attention, Drake appears to reference Kendrick's shots on Control, where he essentially said that he was trying to get Drake and all the other rappers out of here and more or less bury them.
But I'm trying to murder you, trying to make sure your core fans never heard of you.
In the second line, Drake claims that Kendrick was always jealous of his success, and I personally believe that this was true at one point, as we have Kendrick's own words to support this.
Man, my girl split the bucket to KFC. She listening to Drake, and all I can say, damn, these that much better than me, baby.
So, I mean, this was 15 years ago in 2009. Whitney is listening to Drake. He sounds pretty jealous to me. And some might argue that this isn't jealousy and that it's really a genuine dislike for how Drake represents a part of hip-hop that Kendrick doesn't respect. But if this were true, then why collaborate with Drake in the first place? If you were really against what Drake was doing musically or what that stood for, and you're this real dude, then why work with Drake in the first place? Because that would be fake, right? Drake had everything that Kendrick ever wanted, and even on the original Buried Alive track, he talks about how he felt when he found out that Drake was the same age as him, but was way more successful.
He said that he was the same age as myself, and it didn't help because it made me even more rude and impatient. So
I don't know what else you want to call this, but jealousy and envy, because that is what this is.
I took you on your first tour with us trying to catch a vibe. I was headline, you was standing on the side. Brought you and that other hoe along for the ride.
So again, Drake delivers nothing but facts here. Even on the original Buried Alive track, Kendrick seemed extremely excited about meeting Drake, almost like he was finally gonna get his moment because of it.
felt like the initiation, a reality living in the matrix.
So I mean, even then he's saying meeting Drake was like an initiation, like he's finally getting his moment, shit's finally gonna cut through. Wow, Drake, like, you know, that's what this is. And this turned out to be 100% true, and Drake is quick to bring this up because he really did take Kendrick and A$AP Rocky on their first big tour. Drake was indeed headlining while these guys were on the sidelines, and even Kendrick himself said he was not used to these big crowds and that he was overwhelmed with the look that Drake just gave him.
Nigga Drake holding us down, you know what I mean, putting us out there to see this motherfucking crowd that we ain't seen before, me and A$AP. The transition of me doing the 2,000 venues I've been doing packed in is a little sketchy for me doing this 10,000. I gotta really work some motherfucking magic.
So I do think it's safe to say that Kendrick once held a degree of envy towards Drake, and this isn't the first time that Drake held this tour over his head, as he's brought it up multiple times now. First, it was 2013 on the remix with Future.
Took inside the hood like I'm from there. So you know it's all good when I come there. I hear you talk about your city like you run there. Then I brought my tour to your city, you my son there.
Then he mentioned it again on 4 p.m. in Calabasas.
When they told me take an R&B on the road, and I told them no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky.
And I believe that he was referring to this again on a more recent track, Red Button.
It's got you to the spot, and then you separated. Reasons for it speculated.
I don't think anyone could deny the shine that Drake gave these guys, and I do believe Drake wanted them to win. Now, to be fair, which I am, Kendrick did go on a tour in 2010 with Tech 9 called The Independent Grind before ever meeting Drake. The venues were definitely a lot smaller, and his name wasn't even featured on the flyers, but he did get some exposure from this tour. I'm sure those shows were instrumental in helping them with his stage performance and all kinds of shit, right? There's also the fact that even before the Buried Alive feature on Drake's album, Kendrick had already dropped Section 80, which gave him a lot of buzz in itself and prompted West Coast legends to hand him the torch on stage.
I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna mean this. You got the torch, you better run with it.
So this whole handing of the torch thing was in August of 2011. That's 3 months before the Buried Alive track came out. At the end of the day, yes, Drake gave Kendrick a massive boost, but to say that Drake made Kendrick who he is would be insane. Kendrick Lamar is who he is as an artist because he's Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, no one's saying that Drake made Kendrick, but he definitely helped him. You know, why have this hatred and this feeling about someone who helped you? You know what I mean? It's like, why? He definitely fucking helped him. Out of Kendrick's own, words out of his own mouth, bro. Words out of his own mouth, bro.
Let's just make that clear. I believe cream rises to the top, like even without TDE, even without Drake, whoever. I still think Kendrick would have found a way.
First time people lined up for your ass. Now you saying two pussy boys getting out of line.
Drake rebuttals Kendrick's comments on Euphoria about how J. Cole and Drake were giving each other props while on stage. So I feel Drake's pretty much saying, you know, me and Cole are giving each other props on stage, and that bothers you that much? Like, you got issues, bro. You're a hater. You're jealous. And when Drake states that this was the first time that anyone lined up for him, he's alluding to just how small the venues were that Kendrick performed at, and the fact that his name was never on the flyer, and on Drake's tour, he actually was on the flyer. No matter how you spin it, it was a whole different ball game when they went on tour with Drake. It was. Drake's cosign is a reminder to both ASAP and Kendrick that he really did help them, and while this is a fact, it's not really a hard-hitting angle, as this is already beyond public information. I'd still give Drake a couple points for this angle because it is true, but it's also very predictable.
You been hating hard for a very long time. It feel like Twitter ghost writing your reply.
Drake brings up the fact that many of Kendrick's angles in Euphoria and 616 were already pre-existing narratives that were in circulation about Drake already. At the end of the day, Kendrick didn't reveal anything new about Drake on those tracks. Most of the narratives were already unhatched by either the public or other people that dissed Drake in the past.
That's how you felt in 2011 while we wasting time. Dreams come true, Crody. This is where you die.
Alright, so on Kendrick's original Buried Alive track, from Drake's perspective, he tells Kendrick to accept the fame and states that Kendrick should bury himself in money, power, pussy, and fame. It's here where Kendrick left fans wondering, would he fall victim to these temptations, or would he have the willpower to avoid it?
So dig a shovel full of money, full of power, full of pussy, full of fame, and bury yourself alive. Then I died.
So it's on Family Matters where Drake will craft a narrative that Kendrick was not only someone that clearly lost this fight, but as someone that secretly lived a life not all that different from Drake's, as this is truly what he always wanted. With a history of infidelity, messing with groupies, and a self-proclaimed sex addiction, Kendrick did indeed get buried by the temptations of the industry, and it's here where Drake sets his funeral.
Dreams come true, Crody. This is where you die.
So this Buried Alive track got totally overlooked. I don't even think anyone covered it on YouTube or broke it down, but he is saying a lot here, and he does come with some pretty good angles, so I felt like I had to cover it. And by the way, if you're wondering what I'm wearing, this is my merch.
That's
my
crazy.
first run ever.
That's crazy. But anything that Kendrick says, bro, is just fucking broken down by the syllable.
Put a lot of elements of all the diss tracks into this dope looking comic book cover. Grams are physically on the deck. Euphoria matters here. Turn that for this clothes. Made sure that quality up drop is designed based on my actual computer setup. It's a really good that I guarantee is going to spark debate. Like, people are going to be distinct. I got t-shirts, crew necks over to whatsthedirt.net to scoop one.
Pretty cool.
Once again, that's what's into the big fish, Family Matters. And when Drake finally dropped this record, he included the caption, "Stop trying to piece together what I know and go pick up the pieces of your broken home." And we'll hear more about this later. Now, unlike what people believe, Kendrick is not the only artist that can get busy when it comes to numbers and dates. Drake did an insane move with how he rolled out the back-to-back track against Meek. That whole setup was absolutely wild. And he suddenly does this again as he released the record on May 3rd, which, as you'll see later in this track, is a significant date, as this was when Kendrick performed at the Hard Rock Cafe, and this is when he allegedly put hands on Whitney, which is a large part of a premise of a track called Family Matters. Speaking of the title, let's look at this next, as it does hold significant meaning and acts as Drake's main angle as we move further into the track. And we're gonna get there. Now, at a surface level, the words Family Matters could be viewed as 1, family matters, meaning family is important, or 2, there's family issues at play, and in a legal sense, Family Matters usually pertains to...
I was gonna say something about this. That song and the music video from Kendrick's last album, like, for you to even come up with something like that, bro, like, for you to even come up with something like that, you definitely have to be that level of toxic, bro. Yeah, so this shit's disturbing, bro.
Proceedings for things like divorce, child custody, or domestic violence. And in this track, there's pretty much elements of all that. And of course, as you guys know, Kendrick often explores themes of family, loyalty, and social issues in his music, and this is an angle that Drake will later exploit. A large part of Drake's angle on this track is to paint Kendrick as a hypocrite. That is his goal. The title is also a reference to the popular 90s sitcom Family Matters, set in Chicago, where Kendrick's family's from. His parents grew up on the south side of Chicago, with his father involved with the Gangster Disciples. They would later move to Compton, where Kendrick was born and raised, amid gang life. Now, while some of his uncles were gang members, Kendrick was only loosely affiliated, never fully involved. Drake uses the Family Matters reference to liken Kendrick to Steve Urkel, the nerdy neighbor who wasn't part of the family, but was always around. And this is a narrative we've heard from Drake throughout the whole beef, right? You're not that guy. You're not snatching any chains. You're a sweetheart. You're soft. Now, the artwork is essentially a carbon copy of the design for the Family Matters show, with the only difference being that the show had Chicago in the background and Drake used an LA skyline. I even found the original image that Drake used. Basically, it's just an Adobe stock image that he purchased for $105 Canadian. Not the most original cover, but the concept is there. Now that we looked at the title and the artwork, let's take a look at the beat selection. Structurally, this track is composed of 3 different beats, with 6 producers being credited, which is not a coincidence, as Drake is meeting Kendrick's demands from the Like That record. And that's exactly what Drake did. This track does have 3 beats, 3 switches. The first beat, I could say with 100% certainty.
Damn, wait a second. The three switches? I never even thought of that, bro.
Was produced by Tay Keith, Drama Kid, and Preem, as I found this info on Drama Kid's Instagram. I also confirmed that the second beat was produced by Kevin Mitchell, as I sourced this info from his Twitter account. And quite a few of these producers aren't big names. Like, no one even mentioned these guys, even though they're a part of like this massive moment. So I left their socials in the description. Give them a follow. Now, from what I could tell, the only track that had samples was the third beat, which is a sample called Conclusions by Grodek Whipperjenny. Grodek Whipperjenny was a band out of the 70s with 2 main members being James Brown and Dave Matthews. I listened to a bunch of their stuff and it's all honestly phenomenal. I learned that David Matthews in particular has been sampled in hip-hop a bunch of times before. From what I could tell, Drake's beat selection doesn't really have any big hidden meanings or anything, not that I could find. So right off rip, Drake goes beyond just giving us the audio for this track as we get a full-on music video with it. Now, what you'll notice is the thumbnail on YouTube is different from the DSP artwork, as what we see is a 1996 Plymouth Voyager about to get crushed. And we will talk more about this van later in the video. To start off visually, Drake begins by spinning a G-Unit chain, really supporting his claims from push-ups. The G-Unit chain is definitely symbolic, as it more or less acted as the mascot for G-Unit, and 50 was known for beefing with multiple opponents, being extremely ruthless and petty. Now, many people assume that 50 gave this chain to Drake, but this is completely false, as Drake had this chain custom made by Johnny Dang.
As you mentioned my seed, now deal with his dad. I gotta go bad, I gotta go bad.
Which really tells me that Drake had all this set up and planned, likely even before the Push-Ups track dropped, as you'll see him execute specific things in this video that didn't happen overnight. This took some time to put together. There's no doubt that a lot of effort went into this. I mean, buying the chain, getting it made, buying the van, all that stuff took time. Now, as far as Drake's relationship with 50, they both seem to have a mutual respect for one another, and they even took a bunch of photos together after the beef. So even though Drake made the chain himself, he more than likely had 50's blessing, right? He probably okayed it. And in the very first few seconds of the video, there's another layer of symbolism. If you look closely, Drake is wearing a FUBU shirt and flashes the middle finger, which is clearly a bold response to Kendrick's shots on Euphoria.
Damn.
And I was able to find the exact design that he was wearing, and it's
damn, bro.
It's like 90s vintage FUBU. So he's really saying fuck you.
But FUBU never had been your collection.
Drake starts off the track with a direct rebuttal to Kendrick's claims on Euphoria, when Kendrick clowned him for his use of the N-word.
We don't wanna hear you say nigga no more.
Drake strategically trolls Kendrick by getting his own mother to start off the track, requesting that Drake not use the word.
Maybe in this song, you shouldn't start by saying,
Nigga, I said it, I know that you mad.
It's pretty clever because his mother probably doesn't approve of him using this word either. She probably asked him many times over the years not to use it, but she ultimately couldn't do anything about it because Drake is half black, the other side of his family uses it, so she had really zero say in the matter. So he's pretty much saying, like, my own mom couldn't stop me. You're definitely not going to.
That's a good point. I didn't even put that together either. That's a good point, dude. Oh man, it's. Chat, what makes you the way you are? Like some of you guys in here. Now, I'm not saying all of you. A lot of you are just chilling watching this, but what makes some of you guys the way you just are? Like, is it like, does no one love you? Like, do you not have friends? Do you, like, are you lonely? Like, these are all things that people deal with, and then they take it out on just innocent people. So, my point is, if you're going through these things, bro, no matter how negative you get, or horrible things you say online, or you're anonymously spewing hatred, none of that's gonna fix anything or make you feel better, bro. It's not. I'm telling you right now, it's not. The only way that you're gonna feel better is if you work on those things. Let me go try to make some friends. Let me maybe try to go talk to a girl. Right? Do these things. Well, maybe I should reach out and talk to my family or you sitting on the internet and waiting to spew hatred, who's that helping, bro? Who's it helping, bro? I don't know. Me personally, I want you guys all to feel good. You know, I want everyone that I know and everyone that I love to be good. That's just me, though. I don't run around spewing hatred and going in comment sections spewing hate. I don't. Listen, this will probably be the last time that we talk about this beef shit. And this guy is known for breaking down, like, everything. So far, the song hasn't even started yet, and there's two things that were like, oh, shit.
And what's also really clever here is that Drake is 37 years old, and he says the N-word 37 times on this track, and I believe his reasons for doing this is he's basically saying the word for every year that he's been alive.
Dude, you know what's so funny is that...
And what's also...
You know what's so funny, bro? Is that people literally think saying an age is an insult. Like, you're gonna be that age if you're lucky enough to make it. How the fuck can ever an age be an insult? The only way age can be an insult if it's something like insane, dude, if maybe like a teenager is trying to be like the mayor of a city or something, or if like a 74-year-old man is trying to do fucking try out for the fucking NFL, like those are where it's like, all right, that's ridiculous. Not if someone is like in their 20s or 30s, like that's not an insult. Being in your 20s or 30s is not an insult. I'm sorry to, like, I see people use this as like that's their fucking that's their finishing move on Twitter. Is someone being 30 is an insult? Like, you think that that's insulting? That someone made it to their 30s? Holy shit, bro.
Also really clever here is that Drake is 37 years old, and he says the N-word 37 times on this track, and I believe his reasons for doing this is he's basically saying the word for every year that he's been alive to symbolize that he was indeed born black. And look, I know this is all about culture and not really about race, but no matter how you spin it, a lot of the themes that Kendrick uses in his own music, Drake's family also went through, and that is his heritage. I went through his dad's entire genealogy. His family's from the deep south, right? They were indeed enslaved. They really had it bad, and you can't remove that blood from Drake. So a lot of the things that Kendrick talks about is also Drake's heritage, and you can't take that away. Now let's finally get into the bars, and what you'll notice...
anyone who does try to take that away and say that he's not actually black or anything like that, you're a racist, bro. Straight up. You're just a racist. Like, you can't hide it. You're a racist, bro. I don't know whether you hate white people or you hate black people. Whatever, I don't know what your problem is. You're a racist.
Here is that Drake includes the lyrics for the entire song with the video. So he doesn't want to get anything misconstrued. Like, here's the lyrics, here's what I mean, it's all right there for you guys.
I've emptied the clip over friendlier jabs. You mentioned my seed and I deal with his dad. I gotta go bad, I gotta go bad.
In the first line, Drake claims that he's emptied the clip over friendly...
I love it. I love whenever this topic comes up because you just expose races. A guy goes, I guess you could be racist to white people. Yeah, bro, you could literally hate any race, bro. What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh no, technically it's not a... Whatever the fuck you want to call it to make you feel better. Motherfucker, there are people out there who hate people just because of their race. Okay? There are people walking around the earth who don't like a certain race. You can be racist to anybody. Or whatever you want to call it. If you don't want to call it the word racist, you want to... whatever you want to call it. Where the fuck? Where the fuck? Oh my god, are you serious? My mouse just died, bro. Like, what? You gotta be kidding me, bro. What, like, what? How does my mouse die? How do I even charge this? Can I unpause?
Your jabs, which to me could only be one beef, and that was his back and forth with Meek Mill. Now, I don't feel like Meek going online and putting Drake on blast for having ghostwriters was really a friendly jab. In the second line, Drake directly responds to Kendrick's lines on Euphoria about his son Adonis, where Kendrick accused him of not instilling the same family values and more or less painted Drake as a deadbeat dad.
That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
So in the last line, Drake says, "I gotta go bad," which could be in reference to two things. First, and the most obvious, Drake's about to snap, he's about to black out and take things to a whole other level. Secondly, due to the Drake and Michael Jackson comparisons, Drake could be making a reference to MJ's 1987 hit Bad, where the theme of the record is essentially how Mike is a good guy, but he's now turning bad to fight against people that belittled and disrespected him. And it kind of reminded me of the feature that he did with Meek, that Going Bad feature.
Still going bad on you anyway.
Drake then picks right back up from where he left off with push-ups. Now the moment he breaks into this melody, a shot is shown of a van resembling Kendrick's childhood van, famously covered on Good Kid Mad City, being towed in Toronto with a clear image of the CN Tower in frame. Now, many people seem to believe that Drake physically somehow purchased Kendrick's family van, but this is simply not the case. As you can see, these vans are similar, but Kendrick's family van is a 96 Dodge Caravan, whereas the van in the video is a 96 Plymouth Voyager. You could see the trim's different, the rims are different, it's just not the same van. And in the beginning, I was really surprised with Drake's lack of detail, because finding the exact same model would have been a way better flex, but I literally scoured the internet myself to try to find the same van to purchase, and it was pretty much impossible. I think Drake just found the closest thing that he could, which was the Voyager, and it served its purpose for the video. Drake contracted a company by the name of Charisma Auto to transport this van, and I even dug up this company's TikTok account where they proudly announced their involvement. And as you could see, even the transport company itself clearly labels this van as a Voyager and not a Caravan. That is straight from the transport company, and they gotta document the make and the model and all that shit. What's interesting about Charisma Auto is they only transport very high-end luxury exotic vehicles, and as you can see, Drake definitely has a rapport with this company, as they delivered at least 4 vehicles that I could find to him in the past. It's funny that Drake used this very high-end transport company. Like, I guarantee that van was like the shittiest thing that's ever been on that flatbed. So I actually did not cover these lyrics in my push-ups breakdown because I had a really good feeling that this would resurface in an upcoming track. And because I didn't cover it there, let's cover it now. Drake starts off begging Kendrick to drop, and you gotta keep in mind this was recorded before we heard Euphoria or 616. It was at this point where Drake showed a lot of confidence in the information that he had, and he seemed to think that Kendrick wouldn't have much to say. He's pretty much saying, drop. I dare you to fucking drop. Do it.
Drop a 50 bag for the mob in a spot. Drop a 50 bag, 29 for the thought.
Drake takes it all the way to Houston, which is where his mob ties with the Prince family resides. He makes a reference to a Houston strip club called Area 29, which is not only a place that he frequents, but an establishment that he seemingly blesses with hundreds of thousands.
Drake spent $1 million at Houston strip club.
Of dollars every time he's there. And on the same day that the push-ups track dropped, the owner of Area 29's Instagram account posted this video with the caption push-ups. They were probably really hyped to get mentioned in that record, and Drake's mentioned these guys before.
I was really trying to keep it PG.
Drake claims that he was really trying to keep things PG, which is obviously an acronym for parental guidance in film, but it also acts as a double entendre as he's making a reference to Kendrick's record label, PG Lang. Basically, Drake is saying that he really wanted to keep this record aimed at Kendrick only, but because all these artists dogpiled on top of him, he's forced now to deal with them too. He's saying he wanted to keep this PG, right? He wanted to keep this to just Kendrick, but now he's firing on everyone.
If you had a set, they give your ass a DP. You civilian gang in real life, you PC.
Now, the first thing I notice here is that for all the effort that went into making this video, Drake has the wrong lyrics on the screen. On the video, it's clearly written as "to civilian getting real like you PC."
Civilian gang in real life, you PC.
But hey, I'm probably the last person to cast judgment because you guys tell me in the comments every video of the spelling errors that I make. Now, some people seem to think that these lines...
You're 30 years old watching this? Crying emoji, crying emoji. What do you want me to be, a fucking 8-year-old watching this shit? What the fuck does that mean? Who is this video for? I don't understand. This is an artist that I've been listening to since I was in high school. So I don't understand. What age group is allowed to watch this video? 16-year-olds. Buddy, I've been listening to Drake. Dude, I've been listening to Drake for over 10 years. A 16-year-old would have been fucking 4 years old when Drake came out. The fuck are you talking about, a 16-year-old?
Were directed at Rick Ross, but this is 100% a shot at Kendrick. Drake claims that if Kendrick really had a set, meaning if he was really a gang member, they would give him a DP to knock his ass back in line. Now, a DP is synonymous in gang culture, and it's basically a form of disciplinary action. If a member gets out of line, misrepresents the gang, or puts the gang in harm's way, they're going to get the beats. And if you don't think Kendrick was acting a little bit hard or flexing some gang shit in his beef, just look at what he was saying.
If he walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre 3K. Think I won't drop the location.
He's talking about the strap.
That's a K with all these nines. He gon' see Pet Cemetery.
More gun talk.
Extortion my middle name as soon as you jump off of that plane, bitch.
I mean, he's pretty much claiming that when Drake touches down, he's got to check in.
Blick niggas all in the coffin.
Again with the blicky.
Someone gon' bleed in your family, Crody.
Someone is going to bleed in your family.
Eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, Crody.
Now he's talking about the blammy. And although Kendrick claims to be a civilian himself, he doesn't play his hand as a civilian on these tracks.
Yeah, why? I don't... It's like... It's so hypocritical. It's like insane. Like... There's things that people say about Drake, like, oh, dude, you're not hard, you're not this, you're that. But Kendrick Lamar is? Like, what are you talking about? Kendrick's gonna go shoot people?
And Drake is pointing out that Kendrick is really a sweetheart, and all this tough talk is an act. He refers to Kendrick as being a PC, which in prison stands for protective custody. This is where the most vulnerable inmates go, which often includes non-gang members to help protect them. Drake is basically saying that Kendrick isn't that guy, he never was that guy, and he's very far removed from anything remotely close to gang life. Which is really a fact. I mean, Kendrick is not out here in the trenches. Let's just be real.
You know who really bang except my nigga YG.
So Drake makes a critical mistake here. He references YG as being a friend of his who is a full-on blood. I guess Drake really put a lot of stock into what he thought could have been their friendship, but YG is from the West Coast, a place that Drake mocked on Taylor Made. And it was only 20 days later where YG dropped a track that to me is a very obvious diss to Drake.
Weird ass nigga in your feelings about these bitches. Weird ass niggas off that perky be tripping.
So right off rip, you'll notice that YG also uses lyrics on the screen, which is unusual, as he's clearly mocking Drake's Family Matters video. Furthermore, he uses words like "in your feelings," which is a reference to Drake's big hit.
When the smoke, don't ever mention my name. You gon' have me jeopardizing my fame, jeopardizing the game, jeopardizing when you hang, nigga.
And as you could see here, he's clearly not happy about Drake mentioning his name in Family Matters, and even if they are friends, which it looks like they aren't, roping YG into this thing was very miscalculated. And YG claimed this wasn't about Drake. That is a lie. This is clearly about Drake. The whole record has shots. It's about Drake. In a war like this, you can't set yourself up for things to backfire on you like this. The optics did not look good at all when we saw YG was front and center at Kendrick's pop-out show.
Can't trust anyone, man.
Now, I highly doubt YG will ever get any more features from Drake, so hopefully that was worth it for him. We'll see in time.
You know who really bang except my nigga Chuck T.
Next, Drake makes reference to the game who actually has a relationship with both of these guys. Now, I gotta be honest, a lot of people gave the game flack for not showing up at the pop-out show, but I personally respect what the game did here. Much like many artists, Drake has done a lot for the game, and he's one of very few that really showed some loyalty here. I don't think it was necessary for him to turn on Drake.
Who really went to the pop-out? Like, let's really think about it, bro. Who actually went? Who actually went? Let's break it down. Like, actual people that Drake makes music with. Who really went? All right, guys, you're saying LeBron. Can you stop? LeBron just listening to music, bro. I really don't even think LeBron even thought he did anything wrong. Stop. I'm talking about people who make music. Who went? Who was there? Tyler, the Creator? A guy who raps about, oh, I love these white boys. So, Tyler, the Creator, an openly gay rapper, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm saying he's not making music with Drake. Who else? Who performed? Who performed? Dr. Dre. Oh, I'm glad you brought up Dr. Dre. You mean the same Dr. Dre that was dating an underage girl? You mean that Dr. Dre? Again. No, you can go look it up. Go look it up. Go look up Dr. Dre. Look up the age. Look it up. Go look it up.
Drake. He stayed neutral throughout the entire beef, and hopefully Kendrick also understood.
You siding with this nigga and that nigga. When the fuck y'all heard me say a motherfucking thing about who I'm siding with or this and that, nigga? I'll be in my own lane chilling, nigga. Taking care of my kids out the fucking way, nigga. That's how I made it this far in this fucking game.
You know who even bang said I did CB.
Drake then makes a reference to Chris Brown, and many might think this is a gimmick, but Chris really is a full-on Fruittown Pyru, and this is a really great little dig, because Chris Brown is an R&B singer from Virginia, but unlike Kendrick, a Compton native who was only an affiliate, Chris is a full-on gang member. Drake is saying, like, you're so soft that even this R&B guy is harder than you. He's an actual gang member. And when it comes to Chris Brown, although he did have a heated beef with Drake that eventually got squashed, I believe he's also a neutral party in this beef. We got a video of Chris Brown bopping around in the club to Not Like Us. But let's be real, like, Not Like Us is a banger. Like, it's hard not to bop your head to it.
It's really easy to not bop your head to it. First of all, number one, you don't listen to it. But number two, dude, listen. Maybe the first couple times I could understand. Honestly, bro. But that could be one of the worst hit songs I've ever heard, bro. Like, replay, like, even Kendrick fans themselves don't listen to that fucking song, bro.
It's pretty much impossible. And then it was just days later he was singing Drake on stage. And a lot of people seem to forget this, but Chris Brown did sort of pay homage to Drake on his diss to Quavo.
I ran your ass through the ringer, nigga. You just got bodied by a singing nigga.
So by Drake mentioning all three of these guys, he clearly thought that this was something he could lean on. He definitely felt like they were in his corner.
Nigga Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me.
Unlike J. Cole, who apologized.
This thing still fucking haunts me, bro. Why the fuck did J. Cole do that, bro? What the fuck is wrong with you? First of all, J. Cole's diss was actually pretty good, bro. I'm not gonna go play the whole thing again. He actually had a good diss. You got a dude, Kendrick disses you and Drake. You put out a response. It's actually good. And for no reason, like, you don't even let Kendrick even, like, reply. You don't, nothing, bro. You just take it down off streaming and apologize. What J. Cole did, I'll never understand. I still don't understand it. It's a shame, bro. Because J. Cole was on such a good streak of doing features and then the song with Drake and then that little album he put out was pretty good, and then it just got ruined, bro. It got tainted by this shit.
Apologized for his diss and said he was losing sleep over it. Drake does not have this issue, and no matter how you want to slice this, Drake is indeed slighting J. Cole with this line. Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me. I do like that line. Now, as far as the visuals go for the video, we finally get to see the van being delivered to a crusher, and we could see a loader in the distance making its way through the scrapyard with the van.
You better have some paperwork or that shit fake tea. Can't be rapping by no ratting that we can't read.
So this is a very surface level response to Kendrick's claims on Euphoria, where he compared Drake to Gunna for being a rat.
I know some shit about niggas that make Gunna wanna look like a saint.
However, in hindsight, you'll notice later in this track that Drake accuses Kendrick of certain actions that would also require documentation to really substantiate. Now, these guys are both guilty of this. They're both throwing accusations, allegations, whatever you want to call it, at each other with zero proof, zero paperwork, nothing.
I mean, it's true, a nigga slimy for my AP.
So let's finally put this thing to rest. Drake was robbed at gunpoint back in 2010 after leaving a restaurant with a woman by the name of Chantel Brown. They stole a chain which was gifted from Wayne, an AP watch, and $2,000. The thieves quickly got caught by police because they were going down the wrong way of a one-way street. How the police got the information to identify these men is unclear, but the two suspects were identified as Socrates Carell and Paul Letou. The charges were later dropped, and the two men pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. Now, shortly after these charges were laid, some paperwork did leak, and I'm not 1090 Jake, but as it's written here, there's nothing indicating that Drake spoke to authorities. And just so you know, in Canada, I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but you don't have a choice. Like, the cops, police, they lay the charge. You could even tell them, no, I don't want to cooperate, I don't want to press charges, don't matter. The police are the ones that make the call. So in my very honest opinion, it's highly likely that Drake refused to cooperate, which caused the prosecution's case to be very weak. It's for this reason that the Crown was forced to accept a plea deal where the suspects pleaded to a lesser charge. I'm going to say there's a 95% chance that that is what happened.
And I made the decision to not put those guys away, to not go to trial, you know, despite whatever, and I don't know what anybody else is talking about, but it's public record in Canada. You can see I wasn't there. I was in Miami. I wasn't at the trial.
So it seems like Drake even tried to be out of the country just so he didn't have to deal with this. And I know people were saying that Drake was corny for taking lyrics from Kendrick's Mr. Morale and using it against him, but Kendrick is essentially doing the same with this very public info, as Drake has mentioned this robbery on several tracks himself.
Maybe it was the fast-paced switch up or the two guns in my face during the stick up.
And Drake makes it clear that the girl that he was with set him up.
Maybe cause a girl I thought I trusted was who set the whole shit up. But
And he mentioned it again on From Florida with Love.
Easy play that shit for me and Kobe on the bus. When it got a chain for me, I had to give it up.
So he's talked about losing the chain from Wayne.
Niggas had they pistols loaded, pointed in my truck.
He then goes on to say that he's learned from this and that it hasn't happened
On
since.
that day, I never touched a road without a blood. Hasn't happened since, I guess you niggas know what's up.
As far as Chantel, Socrates, and Paul, I can't find any information about these suspects. I don't know if they're dead. I don't know if they changed their names. There is nothing on these people.
Just like how Metro niggas sliding for his main squeeze.
Drake gets really petty here, making the claim that Metro Boomin's girlfriend, who goes by the name of Chelsea Cotton, slept with one of his close friends. Now, Metro was quick to take to Instagram in an attempt to debunk these claims, saying, "Nobody ever hit my girl. We grew up together. She's a real woman, and she's not even in the industry." Now, the friend that I think he could be talking about that slept with her is Future. In the line, Drake is really messing with Metro's head as he ensures to make use of the word slime, and it was just 2 months prior that Metro and Future released a song called Slimed In. Now, this of course could really be a reach, but it is possible that Drake is making a reference to Future sleeping with Metro's girl. And it could be directed at anyone close to Metro, but I felt like the Future thing is the only compelling thing that I could find. As far as the visuals go, it's at this point where the loader heads towards the van and positions the forks to begin the lift.
Out here begging for attention, niggas say please.
It's with this line where Drake circles back to exactly what he's been saying for a very long time. After the Control verse, Drake claimed multiple times that Kendrick was doing these kinds of things to get attention.
Like being the talk of Twitter for like 5 days, you know, over
But you seen Drake is pretty much saying, "Okay, little bro, I know you don't got no emotion right now. I know you're cold as ice. Your last album didn't do well. You're looking for some attention. If you say please, maybe I'll give it to you." And again, J. Cole said the exact same thing.
If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing her.
They're basically saying it's only you that does these little stunts for attention, and they don't respect it.
Always rapping like you about to get the slaves freed. You just acting like an activist is make believe.
Drake claims that Kendrick's whole entire persona is one massive grift, and he's had similar subliminal shots towards Kendrick that I showed you guys in a video 8 months ago.
Fake woke niggas, fake deep. You ain't no favor for me. Gave your ass a little sneak peek, yeah.
Now, the first line did not sit well with a lot of people, and coming off Kendrick's claims on Euphoria about how Drake is disconnected from the culture, this line seemingly supported Kendrick's narrative. However, I don't feel like Drake is saying anything disrespectful about the conscious hip-hop that Kendrick does. What he's really doing here is saying that Kendrick is fake. When you look at these two lines...
Yeah, I never understood that. I never understood the line when Kendrick goes, he doubled down calling us some slaves, when you know damn well what he was saying. Like, in that line. Like, he wasn't... Okay, I'll ask this. Does anyone in here think that when he said that line that he was like saying something like racial or something like actually about slavery or anything? The line was just calling Kendrick fake. What was he saying then? Well, he's explaining it. I'll rewind.
About the conscious hip-hop that Kendrick does, what he's really doing here is saying that Kendrick is fake. When you look at these two lines in conjunction, I honestly don't think Drake is downplaying slavery here at all. What Drake really means by this is that the subject matter of Kendrick's music is all for show and that he's a grifter. And look, it's not my place to tell anyone how they should feel about this line, but I just feel Drake isn't downplaying the message, he's downplaying the messenger. And when those two lines are together, that's his goal, to paint Kendrick as being fake. And J. Cole again shared the exact same sentiments as what Drake had.
Niggas fake, progressive, and woke. I started saying less, I had to stop it. Peeped how they profit off of racial stress.
When you actually take what Drake said and align it with what Cole is saying, these lines are pretty much identical because they both refer to Kendrick as someone that profits off of racial tension, but Cole really drives this home even further in the next two lines.
Some activists got so rich they probably wish we stay oppressed. Studio steppers moving extra on songs fake and rep.
So Cole makes a reference to Kendrick's album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Damn, was J. Cole throwing shots at Kendrick? Because I remember it was a song with him and Lil Yachty, and I know it was before. Yeah, so it was September 20. Yeah, so it was months before the beef. And it was months before Like That came out.
So Cole makes a reference to Kendrick's album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and suggests that K-Dot is faking the funk for money, and it's in this first bar where it's even more similar to Drake's line, as they are both saying the exact same thing here. It's fairly apparent that both J. Cole and Drake aren't shooting shots at the subject matter itself, but more at the person who's delivering it, as they see it as a grift. And that's not the last time that J. Cole called Kendrick a fraud.
Your arms might be too short to box with the God who live his life without the pressures of a constant facade.
So Cole and Drake are saying the exact same thing. This dude is a grifter.
Don't even go back to your hood and plant no money trees.
Drake makes a direct reference to Kendrick's big hit Money Trees and claims that he doesn't go back to his neighborhood to spread the wealth.
Money trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how I feel.
Now, I think everyone knows that Kendrick has a long history of giving back to Compton and LA in general. I could make a whole other video about this, and maybe sometime I will, but let's just say that he's given back hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions. He's definitely amazing with charity, but there's more to it than just that. Planting money trees isn't just about donating to charities for a potential tax break. What I think Drake really means here is he's talking about things like, what businesses has Kendrick created in his community? Based on my research, he owns PG Lang, and that's pretty much it, so Drake makes a pretty solid point here. If you want to talk about giving back to people on the West, look no further than what the late great Nipsey Hussle did. Nip created multiple businesses, truly growing money trees on his home soil. This is one of the best investments that you could do for your community, as it not only provides goods and services for the people, but it creates job opportunities. This man had restaurants, barbershops, full-on education programs for kids of color, affordable housing. He was trying to work with police to help with gang violence. Nipsey was planting money trees left, right, and center, and he even planned to roll out some of these programs in other states in America. And then there's another layer of planting money trees. The question needs to be asked, what has Kendrick done for West Coast rappers? What is he doing to put money into the pockets of...
Zero. He does nothing. What does he do, bro? Somebody please tell me. Someone please tell me, bro. Because this is what I see. This is the main difference. I always see Drake hopping on shit, trying to help people.
LA art.
Help other artists, whatever. What the fuck does Kendrick do, bro? What does he do? What do you do, though? I mean, listen, we don't need to get into that. What have I done? I think I've helped a lot of people.
What is he doing to find the next Kendrick Lamar? The answer is not as much as you would expect. Excluding features that he's done with his label mates on TDE, which really shouldn't count, Kendrick's discography isn't exactly the definition of promoting West Coast artists. There's a lot of budding MCs coming out of LA right now, And not only has Kendrick not planted any money trees for them, he's hardly even planted a seed. It's the small things like this that Kendrick Lamar lacks, and Drake makes a very good point. One could even argue that Kendrick's strategy with his pop-out show was a way to address narratives like this one. Again, if we're talking West Coast, look at Nipsey. Look at Nip. Look, when you're a multimillionaire, throwing money at charities is not all that difficult when there's real groundwork that needs to be laid, and Nip had his footprints all over it as he was really doing everything in his power for his community. See, like I said before, a big part of Drake's strategy with this record is to paint Kendrick as a hypocrite. As far as the visuals, at this point the van has been completely removed from the back of the trailer and is sitting on the forks of the loader. Now, I can't speculate what that man does behind the scenes. Kendrick could be doing a lot. I'm just giving theories to what I think Drake could be talking about, and he's more or less just calling him a grifter. He's saying Kendrick's music and the message within it, as powerful as it is, it seems to stop there. There's no follow-up, there's no real action. You're just profiting off this, you're not really doing the groundwork. That's what I get from it. And look, without music, I probably wouldn't even be here. So I'm the last guy that's gonna downplay the power that music has to influence people and influence change. It's a very powerful tool.
Say you hate the girls I fuck, but what you really mean?
It's here where Drake begins to rebuttal Kendrick's comments on Euphoria.
He hate the bitches you fuck cause they confuse themselves with real women.
And next we get a pretty crazy flip.
I've been with black and white and everything that's in between.
Drake comes through with the facts, as he does have a wide range of past women from every ethnicity. It's here where Drake begins to frame his angle as Kendrick really being envious of the life that Drake so freely lives. He begins to portray that Kendrick's issue isn't with the women Drake is involved with, but more about the fact that he can't openly engage in the same behavior himself.
You the black messiah wiping up a mixed queen.
Drake points out that the guy who is seemingly very pro-black has wifed up a mixed woman. Now, certain people are against race mixing and they've got their own reasons. It's not something that I subscribe to. To me, love is love, and I believe Kendrick has a similar stance. And the facts are, there simply isn't any supporting lyrics or public statements from Kendrick that's opposed to race mixing. This angle would have been great if Kendrick was out here acting like Dr. Umar, but that's just not the case. In fact, I see it as the opposite.
Hit vanilla cream to help out with your self-esteem.
Now this one is good. Drake uses Kendrick's own words against him as he admitted to sleeping with white women himself.
The first time I fucked a white bitch, I was 16 at the Palisades.
He didn't stop there, except this time he admits to cheating on Whitney with a white chick.
Next time I fucked a white bitch was out in Copenhagen. Good kid, Mad City tour. I flourished on them stages.
And for those that want to say that he wasn't with Whitney at this time, that may be possible, but it was just over a year later where again, he hides behind this high school sweetheart fairy tale.
But Kendrick has his longtime girlfriend that he's been with since the beginning, right, Kendrick?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So he's not worried about that.
Damn, you know all your business.
That's the one you ride out with.
And nobody can hit it.
So in this interview, like many others, he's claiming that he's been with Whitney this whole time. And we're going to get into a lot of those inconsistencies very soon. And of course, when Drake claims that Kendrick hit Vanilla Cream to help out his self-esteem, this also rings true as Kendrick admitted this himself.
Insecurities that I project sleeping with other women. Whitney's hurt, the pure soul I...
Oh my god, dude, this dude Kendrick's a piece of shit. The guy is sitting here, dude, this is so, imagine if you're her. You're listening to lyrics of him. First of all, you got cheated on. You've gotten cheated on multiple times. You have children with this guy. You're getting brutally cheated on. He's making songs about it. He's already got caught lying. Like, this is weird shit, bro. Like, how are you a fan of this?
So I think Kendrick means women in general, not just white women, but Whether you like this or not or want to admit it, what Drake is saying here is indeed valid.
Also, Bobby, shit, I wanna know what Whitney need. All that puppy love was over in y'all late teens.
Drake comes in with some shots as Kendrick and Whitney started dating in high school, and young love is usually very strong, hence the reference to puppy love. It's here where Drake also makes a reference to Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown's toxic relationship, drawing parallels between the two. Drake compares both relationships here as being extremely toxic and is likely alluding to the allegations of domestic abuse. However, another layer comes into play when we look at Whitney Houston's massive hit, All the Man That I Need, as it's on this record where Whitney is describing the perfect partner, where the lyrics describe how the man fulfills her emotional needs, provides love, security, and makes her feel complete. So Drake is saying that Whitney is not getting any of these things from Kendrick, right?
Why you never hold your son and tell him say cheese?
At the time of this track, Drake seemed to have assumed that Kendrick was never seen with his new child, but this is in fact false, as I found a video of Kendrick feeding him.
On track 3. Hey, give me that thing.
We could have left the kids out of this, don't blame me.
Drake brings up how Kendrick made mention to his son Adonis on Euphoria.
That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
And it's because of that where Drake says, okay, now it's fair game.
You a dog and you know it, you just play sweet.
So this line is actually pretty impactful and 100% true, but it'll make a lot more sense if I explain it in a few more bars.
Yo, baby mama captions always screaming, save me.
Drake continues to dish out more shots, as when we look at Whitney's captions on Instagram, they don't seem to scream happy relationship by any means. Now, she is a new mother, right? So she could have went through postpartum depression. Those posts don't mean...
Or she could be depressed because her fucking 5'3" husband is cheating on her brutally. I mean, that could also be the case.
That's about their relationship. As far as the visuals go, it's at this point where the loader heads towards the crusher with the van on its forks.
Am I wrong?
You did it dirty all your life, you tryna make peace.
Drake makes the claim that Kendrick has been doing Whitney dirty his whole life. Alright, so let's just look at the timeline of all the times that Kendrick did Whitney dirty that we know of. It was back in 2010 where Kendrick spoke about just how poorly he treated her, while Whitney stayed at home alone.
And she know they got me. I watch her feelings watch me as they staring with the saddest eyes of loneliness.
Now you could say this is just him telling a story and it's not about them, but we can at least admit at the very minimum that the parallels are interesting. And he would only go on to break more promises, as at the end of this record, he commits to being faithful to her from that point on.
So to what's important in my life, I apologize. I promise to stay faithful, focused, and sanctified.
So even from a very early point here, we have Kendrick admitting to wrongdoings on a record, and because he apologizes for things like this and comes off as sincere, fans seemingly give this behavior a pass. But bro, he apologized. He admitted it. Like, that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change the fact that he was sliming her pretty bad. It doesn't. There's also the fact that if we're going to overanalyze and critique every single thing that Drake says and does and use it against him to support whatever narrative there may be, then we have to do it here as well. It's only fair. Unless, of course, you're a deranged, insane superfan. Then you probably wouldn't agree, but most people would. Continuing on with the timeline, we now need to look at Kendrick's lyrics on Mr. Morale, as it gives context to another incident in 2012.
I met her on the third night in Chicago, North America tour, my eye closed. Feet 5'4", she was a model, eyes like green penetrate.
Kendrick refers to his North American tour and states that he met a woman on the third night of Chicago. Now, when I looked into this, I found that he's referring to the Pitchfork Music Festival, which took place in Chicago in 2012, where he did indeed perform on the third night and admits to sleeping with this woman.
Green eyes said you be okay, first tour sex to pain away.
And it was literally just 1 month before that festival where Kendrick claimed that he was still with his long-term girlfriend and that he doesn't do any dirt while on tour.
I know you thought about smashing Angela.
No, he has a girlfriend. You still have a girlfriend, right?
Right.
Yeah, he laughed.
Now, I know the black hippies get a lot of groupies, so I know you on the road doing your dirt.
I know that has to
Does
be
your
tough.
girlfriend understand?
I mean, it's not really dirt. I'm just chilling. I don't be messing with the groupies like that.
Then I found a tweet from Whitney's sister, which was 2 months after the festival, where she said, "He's been with my sister since high school. He's family. So when it comes to Drake's claims of doing Whitney dirty, this acts as another checkmark in the timeline." And this is why Drake said you like to play sweet a few bars earlier. Now we can explain that. Drake cleverly plays off his previous puppy love line to claim that Kendrick is a complete dog when it comes to women, and even 13 years ago it was on the Buried Alive track where Kendrick is talking all about how he can't wait for his music to pop off so that he can live like Drake and smash groupies.
Red, I'ma go and get some head off the strength of my music. I tell a bad bitch, yo ass too fat, capitalize that. And your weave look good with the Indian tracks.
So 13 years ago, Kendrick is saying he wants to get some head off the strength of his music, which is exactly what he did, as just 1 year and 8 months later, he would cheat on Whitney and dipped into the vanilla cream.
Dude, Kendrick's a piece of shit. Dude, first of all, that's pathetic. I want to get some head off the strength of my music? Like, that's literally... Dude, that's like fucking Batman couldn't get that information. Like, dude, why would you admit that? That literally means, A, you don't get women, and the only way you're going to is if you become famous. Get this 5-3...
At a festival in Copenhagen. Now the crowd was different in Copenhagen, babe. Like they really do love me out here. It's crazy. And of course, Kendrick had to frame those lyrics like he had big plans of messing with thick queens with the weave looking on point, but in reality, he was gripping on a blonde ponytail and balls deep in skinny white ass. I mean, Kendrick might just be a milkman, right? A closeted milkman.
And after that, it's over. You wake up and you don't even know what you done done.
I missed the show. I wish they'd bring it back. But leave some of your favorite moments in the comments, and I guarantee I'll get them.
You had a boo. Yeah, yeah.
There was rumors that you guys got engaged.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, definitely.
Congratulations,
Appreciate
man.
that. Yeah, I'm loyal to the soil.
Yeah, I got engaged, and I'm also really loyal too, by the way. Like, that's just, you know, I'm Kendrick. Fast forwarding in the timeline, that interview that you just saw was in April 2015, where he claims that he's loyal to the soil. However, it's presumed that during that long break between Damn and Mr. Morel, that even more complicated family matters took place.
Insecurities that I project sleeping with other women. Whitney's hurt, the pure soul I know. I found.
Bro, you are... Just because you fucking, like, say it on a song... Like, dude... And this is the person that people are supporting, bro. This is the person. This is who you're... This is who you're riding and dying for. Is somebody who doesn't even give a fuck about their own fucking girl who they have kids with. You think they give a fuck about you? Bro took 5 years off from music. Drake, consistent. Always giving his fans music, bro. Matter of fact, you could argue Drake has dedicated his life to this. Has this guy? So he made 5 albums in about 10, 13 years?
In the kitchen.
And Whitney did appear to leave him during this period.
But Whitney's gone. By the time you hear this song, she did all she could.
So that 5-year gap between Damn and Mr. Morel seems to be where the more complicated family matters took place. And Kendrick's claims of being with his high school sweetheart from the jump was seemingly another lie, as we heard from Nitty Scott that she was in a relationship with Kendrick for a full year.
So shout out to Kendrick, that's the homie. Yeah, we had a brief thing.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a long-term relationship. The way I heard it was like, yo, you know, she used to fuck with Kendrick. It wasn't like, yo, you were his like.
I'll put it I'll say like that was my boo. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my thing. I was seeing him and him only for at least a year.
Bro, this dude, bro, has portrayed himself. Oh my God, man, this is. Bro, he's been first of all, hold on. Let's put it like this. He's literally, just in this video, we're not even halfway through, he's been exposed multiple times for lying. Multiple times.
I think we can all agree in here that the high school sweetheart thing has been great for Kendrick, right? Right, good look. So I think we just ignore this. So it's here where we close the timeline on the relationship, and it's understood that Kendrick admitted to some of these things himself, but this line from Drake is about the cycle of doing Whitney dirty, and by all accounts, this is extremely accurate. But bro, he said he's not your savior. Like, guys, I know about Mr. Morale, but that doesn't change the fact that what Drake is saying here is true. He treated her poorly. Being with his high school sweetheart was part of Kendrick's brand, as it made him look like he was different than all the other rappers because he didn't change with the money and fame. It made him look loyal, but this isn't what took place at all.
Oh no, first of all, dude, just listen to the guy's words. Okay, go back to that song that he keeps playing. Okay, that was on Take Care, of him saying he wants to get head off the strength of his music, and he can't wait, and he just wants to be, you know, and then the shit in the Control verse. Oh, I want to kill all these guys, dude. All the things he says, bro. Kendrick is the main one obsessed with this, like, what, you know, being famous and all this shit. And using it to get women too.
We heard it a million times, right? Oh, Kendrick is really genuine. He's not like the other guys. He's still with his high school girlfriend. He's genuine. It's within this first verse from Drake where he indicates that Kendrick is just truly envious of the life that Drake lives. 13 years ago, Kendrick claimed he essentially wanted Drake's life, and Drake frames it like that didn't change. Drake has always had the freedom to sleep with any woman he wants, and while Kendrick positioned himself for over a decade as an honest and faithful guy to his high school girlfriend, this is simply not the case, as he was really moving more similar to Drake than what people would like to admit. Drake is basically saying, you always wanted to live the life that I lived, you did live the life that I lived, you just hid it from the world behind a sweetheart persona.
I heard that one of them little kids might be day free.
Okay, so first, to better understand this line, we need to look at what was said by both artists on the diss tracks that came before. On Push Ups, Drake started out the track with the Who Kid drop, which was something that none of us understood at the time. From there, he threw insults regarding Kendrick's height, said that his last album bricked, that TDE was extorting him, and he had the line about bodyguards with Whitney. Then he dropped Tailor Made. On Tailor Made, he used an AI Snoop and Tupac to mock Kendrick, question his authenticity, claimed he was powerless to Taylor Swift, and he ended off the track by claiming that Kendrick was in his New York apartment, struggling. And then Kendrick said this on Euphoria.
If you take it there, I'm taking it further. It's something you don't want to do.
Okay, so the question is, take what where, take what further? What did Drake say in those two tracks that would make Kendrick react like this? Well, there's only two answers. Something to do with the Who Kid drop, which would indicate that he picked up on what it meant, or something to do with Whitney. Kendrick is reacting to something here. It's either the bar about Whitney or the bar about the kid. It's one of the two. Objectively speaking, it appears that Kendrick recognizes Drake has something on him, as he's deemed it significant enough to issue a threat.
We ain't gotta get personal, this a friendly fade, you should keep it that way.
I don't think we should take it there. Let's just keep it friendly. Like, I mean, he says it twice. There's zero doubt in my mind that Kendrick picked up on the fact that Drake had something on him. 100%. Now, as far as this Dave Free line, I'm not sure where Drake heard this rumor, but he claims that one of Kendrick's kids might not be his, and due to the reference to the son just a few bars earlier, it's presumed this is who he's talking about. Now, to me, it's obvious that both children belong to Kendrick, as they clearly possess a number of his facial features. However, Drake only insinuates that this might be the case, which really makes me believe that at the very least, Drake is claiming that Whitney and Dave could have been messing around. I'd be pretty much shocked if the kids weren't Kendrick's. Like, to me, we don't need a DNA test here. However, there's no solid evidence that Whitney and Dave were ever involved, and it seems unlikely given how close Kendrick is with Dave. They continue to collaborate even on significant ventures like partnering for PG Lang. So because this was supposed to be like the knockout punch for Drake, like he put a lot of stock in this info, I don't think he just made this up out of thin air. I think someone told him this and he bought it. He believed it. Now, for me personally, I don't feel like the Not Like Us video proves that Kendrick and Whitney are still together. This is just my take, but I believe they separated a while ago, and the Mr. Morale album was a form of therapy for them, and I do believe they are now co-parenting. That's just my opinion, guys. I do think Drake got this part right, but we'll see in time. At the end of the day, Kendrick is the father of her children. She knew him since high school, and Drake did drag her into this beef, so I can't see why she wouldn't help Kendrick out with the video.
Fabricating stories on the family front, cause you heard Mr. Morale.
And I truly believe that lines like this one acted as a safety net, as it was Kendrick's way of trying to get ahead of these things before they came out. Me personally, I believe that there just might be a layer of truth mixed in there somewhere that Kendrick recognized he needed to step on. As far as Whitney sleeping with another man besides Kendrick, I saw people acting as if this was impossible, but I do feel like the psychological damage that Kendrick did to her throughout his own infidelity would cause many women to seek that affection from someone else. I mean, come on now, guys. Like, if you treat a woman like that for as long as he did, do you really think it's a 0% possibility that she might just eventually veer off with...
Bro, if he was cheating on her and shit and they were separated, why would she not be with the other guys?
someone else? So,
yo, Mods, you can get rid of these fucking annoying... Bro, oh, matter of fact, it's the same guy spamming move on. Yeah, get rid of that guy, ban that guy. I was like, dude, why are people... It's one guy spamming move on. Yo, please ban him.
Speaking on the relationship as a whole, I believe these kids are Kendrick's, but I'm also not going to rule out that there just might be a layer of truth in here somewhere that Kendrick did a very good job of stepping on. When you really look at the information and the situation at a whole, what I just said is not a crazy take to have. I think Kendrick's strategy of painting Drake as a liar and a manipulator and constantly driving that home, I think all that was done with a great deal of intent. And it was very effective, right?
Cause if your GM is your BM secret BD, then this is all making plenty fucking sense to me.
Drake claims that if Kendrick's general manager, Dave Free, is the real father of his child, then everything is starting to add up. The long wait in between Damn and Mr. Morale, the subject matter in Mr. Morale, the turmoil between Whitney and Kendrick, all now seems to add up for Drake.
Let that shorty breathe, shake that ass, bitch. Hands on your knees, shake that ass for Drake, now shake that ass for free.
So it's here where Drake flips one of Kendrick's funniest lines from Euphoria.
When I see you stand by sexy red, I believe you see two bad bitches. I believe you don't like women, it's real competition, you might pop ass with them.
When I heard these shots from Kendrick, I wondered how Drake would go about flipping this, and he does a pretty good job by playing off his previous track, Rich Baby Daddy, with Sexy Red. Drake starts off the line by saying, "Let that shorty breathe," possibly alluding to Kendrick being controlling in the relationship. It is a decent little flip as he ties it into the Dave Free and Whitney allegations, and this really could have been a crowd-pleasing moment had Kendrick not stepped on this track so quickly. This was supposed to be Drake live, putting the mic out, and everyone singing this part back. At this point in the video itself, the van has now been placed inside the crusher, and something else I wanted to add about this video is the fact that it's very low budget. It almost looks like it was filmed with cell phones, and when we think of how Kendrick approaches his music videos, they're extremely cinematic, and I think Drake could be doing this to kind of mock him. I'm not even saying that's a thing, that's just something that I noticed.
Yeah, we're not that kind of free, I'm talking about my nigga Dave.
Drake proceeds to mock Kendrick by explaining the previous line, basically saying that Whitney doesn't need to shake ass for nothing, meaning she doesn't need to do it for free, she needs to shake it for Dave Free.
Yo man, a Lil K, we call that shit a mini Drake.
Drake makes a reference to a mini Draco gun, which is a smaller version of a regular Draco. It's here where he positions Kendrick as someone that he doesn't even see as a man, but more of a little kid. There's also the fact that the Draco was inspired by the AK-47, so really this little K line has three meanings, being 1, Lil Kendrick, 2, Lil Kid, and 3, it's a direct reference to the Draco being inspired by the AK-47 itself. This is both a clever way of pointing out Kendrick's short stature and also a way of calling him little bro. There's also the fact that by Drake labeling Kendrick as a mini Drake, he's literally saying that Kendrick is a smaller extension of himself and alluding to the fact that he's nowhere near to being on Drake's level. And he's also rebuttaling 2 of Kendrick's gun bars, one being Euphoria.
The very first time I shot me a Drake, the homie had told me to aim it this way.
And also to like that record.
That's a K with all these nines. He gon' see Pet Cemetery.
Damn!
So not only is this a good
Damn!
punchline, but he also has a couple rebuttals in there, which
Damn!
is something that we give points for in battle rap. This is a thing.
Bro, just type waste of a stream, but spelled waste, W-A-I-S-T. Buddy. Dude, you need to shut the stream off and fucking get to studying, bro. I'm not actually kidding when I say this. You might actually be fucking retarded, bro. That could have been what that might actually have been top 3 stupidest things I've ever seen in my life, bro. Nah, man. And these are the people who you see dissing me, bro. These are the people talking shit. This is who's doing it, bro.
We said I overlooked him, I was staring straight.
This line acts as a double entendre where 1, Drake alludes to Kendrick's height, he literally overlooks him because he's taller, and 2, Drake is only focused on people he considers to be on his level, he looks straight ahead, meaning he only acknowledges artists who are the same caliber as himself. Drake doesn't view Kendrick as being on his level.
These bars go over Kenny head no matter what I say.
So Drake claims that the bars are going right over Kendrick's head, which is a phrase that we often use in hip-hop when the bars are so complex that the audience doesn't catch it. Secondly, it's obviously another short joke where the bars are literally going over Kendrick's head due to his short size. So again, another jab at Kendrick for his short stature, and while I felt like the short jokes were already played out in push-ups, I got to thinking, maybe Drake knows that Kendrick is insecure about this. Even when Drake dropped that track, he shared a story promoting it where he said, "Out on all platforms, like the shoes you need," and there are many instances of Kendrick wearing footwear where he seems to be trying to gain a couple inches. I mean, maybe it is a sore spot for Kendrick.
I know you like to keep it short, so let me paraphrase.
Again, another short joke, and even if this does get under Kendrick's skin a little bit, at this point, Drake is wasting valuable real estate here, and it's time to move on.
Knew it was smoke when Abel hit us with the serenade. Niggas say, almost started reaching for my waist.
Drake clowns The Weeknd as he was one of the artists that took shots at Drake recently and has remained a target. It's here where he sarcastically pretends to be afraid of The Weeknd, suggesting that he's reaching for his waist to get a pistol. He's basically saying like, oh no, don't get the big bad Weeknd after me. It's at this point in the music video where the van gets crushed and Drake syncs this with the hook of the track. Now, the act of crushing this van in particular is Drake's...
Chat, I'm actually down to skip the whole middle part of the song and go to the third verse. If you guys are down, it'll actually end the video a lot sooner, I think. Because we don't need... It's just about the Kendrick and the Drake lines. I don't care about the Weeknd lines and the whatever... Rick Ross.
way of saying, I helped bring you into this thing, and now I'm taking you
Skip it all? Now I might watch the whole video. Now I haven't made up my mind now. Skip everything. Yeah, let me think about it.
Good Kid, Mad City is among one of the best hip-hop albums of all time. It certainly makes my list, and this is a pretty slick chess move from Drake.
As dramatic as it is, I think the crushing the van shit is dope. Like, it's a good visual. It feeds into what Drake's trying to do on this record.
Something else you'll notice about the...
Obviously, it's cool, bro. But because it's Drake... Oh, no. There's too many Drake haters, bro. Dude. Kendrick had the owl in a cage. Oh, my God, dude. The artistic... Oh, my God. He put an owl in a cage. This was literally... He took the album cover of Kendrick's best album and crushed the van, and that's not cool, though. But Kendrick putting an owl in a cage is... Whatever, bro.
The hook is that this time, Drake cuts the track off before he says PG and inserts 3 gunshots instead.
I was really trying to keep it.
So this whole time, he did want to keep this just to Kendrick, but now he's firing on everyone.
Stop playing around and take this shit serious. Like, niggas is a joke. I take it serious.
Should we skip? I really just want to hear the Kendrick bars. All right, let's do some hot words. Yes or no? Skip, yes or no? Type in the chat. Ooh. Oh, shit. What the fuck? All right.
And now we get to part 2, and this is really where Drake really starts to rap.
Now, as far as the visuals go for the second portion of the video, Drake showcases a Mercedes hearse from multiple angles. He shows off the exterior a few times and then focuses on the inside of the vehicle itself. You'll notice that the location of where the casket is usually secured is empty, and this is a visual that Drake focuses on. I believe the reason for an empty hearse is to symbolize that the Good Kid, Mad City van acted as the coffin for Kendrick. When the van is crushed, Kendrick is buried, and the empty hearse demonstrates that the job has been done.
That is my best interpretation of it.
However, another layer comes into play when we look into the make and model of this hearse in particular. This took me a lot of digging, and I looked at more hearses than I would like to admit. But you can see that the Maybach model has the exact same interior.
All the other hearses I looked at do not look like this one. This is the Maybach hearse.
Drake's reason for using a Maybach hearse is impactful because when Kendrick first met Drake, this was the vehicle that he used to pick him up.
A white waitress on standby when we need her. A black Maybach 40 pulled up, Jeep, no doors.
So I feel like Drake is basically saying, I used a Maybach to pick you up. That was the start of our relationship and me helping you. I helped get you to Good Kid, Mad City. I helped you with Good Kid, Mad City. I'm crushing the van. I'm burying you. This is your funeral. And I did this with a Mercedes Maybach hearse. So the vehicle I brought you in with is the vehicle I just took you out with, pretty much. It's here where Drake puts on a clinic, really sliding on this beat.
Drake shooters doing TikToks, nigga, really shooting in your gang. That's peace, brother. Y'all ain't getting shit shot, nigga.
Picking up from where he left off, Drake starts out the verse with some more bars for The Weeknd and his crew. First, he makes a reference to The Weeknd's claims on a recent track called All to Myself. It's on this track where The Weeknd alludes to how one of Drake's OVO goons, Baka Not Nice, is posting on TikTok.
Hello. Good morning, bitch. How you doing today?
Drake claims that one of his former colleagues, P. Rain, is the brother of The Weeknd's best shooter, Gilla.
Drake is basically saying, like, I'm in good with your number one goon. He's friends of OVO. Like, you're not gonna do shit to me.
So it's here where Drake dishes out a triple entendre. First off, Drake continues to respond to the All to Myself track by telling The Weeknd that he doesn't want to hear any threats coming from a singing artist.
Like, bro, The Weeknd just gotta just stop. Like, do your singing shit, whatever. You making disses while you're, like, harmonizing, like, it's literally like, you want to talk about cringe? What are you even doing, bro? Like, we get it, bro. Cool, you didn't sign to Drake shit. You got it, bro. You're successful. I just feel like he's over and over just repeated that and, like, said things like it and, like, talked about it, and it's probably rubbed Drake the wrong way. I mean, you know what I mean? The OVO EXO shit. Like, I feel like The Weeknd basically started the shit. Like, going at Drake. Even if it's in, like, slick ways or, like, not even slick, but, like, I don't know.
While Drake also sings, The Weeknd is primarily an R&B and pop artist. Secondly, Drake also references Stick Talk, a track by Future, to imply that if The Weeknd's gonna collaborate with Future, he should leave this kind of talk to him. Last but not least, the line has a far deeper meaning, as The Weeknd has a goon that goes by the name of Styx.
And Styx is someone that's been mentioned by The Weeknd before. So I mean, he's clearly labeling Styx as one of his shooters, right?
Like, do you hear how The Weeknd talks? Like, bro, listen to this line.
Right?
Doing good in these streets. Listen to how he says it.
One of his shooters, right?
So even coming back to the previous line about Gilla being the only real shooter in The Weeknd's crew, Drake is basically calling this Styx guy a joke, like he's not the guy that The Weeknd thinks he is.
So that right there is a triple entendre and a really good one.
Drake points out how The Weeknd is hardly ever in Toronto, and when he does visit, it's just like a typical tourist, stopping for a brief moment and leaving again. He also makes reference to a song by Selena Gomez, which is called Souvenir, and this was someone that The Weeknd was in a relationship with, and the Souvenir record itself is actually written about The Weeknd.
Damn! Yo! Oh my god, bro.
So I hope at this point in the video you could at least say that for the people that claim that Drake can't be layered, like he definitely can be layered, and he has been layered.
Dude, everyone who listens to Drake knows. But these people who just hate Drake, Like, I love the people who say that Drake just makes music about nothing and there's nothing behind it. Like, are you kidding me? You've never listened to him then. You've never listened to him, bro. Drake has essentially said his whole life story through his music. He doesn't talk about it. Like, what? It's the stupidest argument I've ever seen.
For a very long time.
Drake is one of the best writers. Like, literally, like, he's written for all your favorite artists, bro. For a reason. He's good.
Now, it's hard to pinpoint exactly who Drake might be referencing, but I personally believe he's hinting at a woman named Just Tokyo. I first broke this connection in my push-ups breakdown, noting that she's been seen with both Drake and Future. Another potential hint that I notice is Drake's use of the word lip lock, which Future also used in his popular track, Thought It Was a Drought.
I just had some bitches and I made them lip lock.
For me, it was a clue because, you know, this was a big record for Future, and lip lock is also pretty specific. So I believe that it's in this line where Drake seems to let Future know that he didn't even sleep with this woman, all he did was kiss her. So I believe this is also another triple, as first, he's saying that when it comes to beef, he hasn't even begun to retaliate or cook yet. Secondly, he's basically saying that beef gets him excited, and when it's time for war, he gets active. And lastly, following the previous line about kissing, he's implying that in his conflicts, he's notorious for sleeping with his rivals' women, and in this case, he's saying that he hasn't even stooped to that level yet, hence he hasn't let his dick drop. And I know people think Drake is lame for smashing other people's girls for revenge, but if you really don't like someone, that's probably the best way you could get back at them. Like, a broken nose is gonna heal, but a broken heart, that shit takes a lot longer. You're hitting them where it hurts. Nigga, what the fuck I heard Rick drop, nigga talking something about a nose job, nigga. So it's here where Drake really starts to turn up with his use of the N-word, truly combating Ross's claims of Drake being a white boy.
White boy, BBL Drizzy, I got a question.
Drake directly shoots down Ross's claims of him having a nose job. And a whole bunch of celebrity plastic surgeons.
If you think that Drake got surgery, bro, on his abs, you would probably believe fucking anything, bro. You mean Drake, the dude, when has this guy not been in shape? Throughout, like, it's one thing if someone was known as, like, he was, like, a big guy or, like, chubby or fat or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden he was in good shape. Bro, how, like, what are you talking about? When has Drake not been in good shape? It's such hater shit. It's such hater shit, bro.
They also debunked this.
Well, I'm not really seeing anything obvious here. So I don't think that Drake is nose job Drizzy.
So it's in these words heard Rick drop.
Yeah, let's not listen to the let's not listen to the doctor. Let's listen to the rappers who are beefing with Drake, trying to make him look bad. Yeah, listen to those guys, not the doctors though.
Where we get another double entendre where one, Ross dropped a diss track towards Drake called Champagne Moments, and two, Rick Ross has had several medical incidents such as seizures and rumored heart attacks where he did indeed drop. So to me, this could also be a clever play on Ross's health issues. Lastly, Drake alludes to Rick Ross's use of Ozempic to help with weight loss and insinuates that he's jealous of Drake's success, which is honestly even more clever wordplay, linking to Drake's previous lines about getting active. And like I said, he really starts to rap here because up next, we get multiple double entendres. Put a nigga in the bars, let a nigga rock, kinda like your old job, nigga. In the first couple words, Drake says put a dude in the bars, and this has two meanings where one, he's physically rapping about Rick Ross and spitting bars about him, and two, he refers to Ross's former career as a correctional officer where he was literally responsible for surveilling other men behind bars.
So that's one double.
Next, Drake says, let a dude rot, which also has multiple meanings, where one, it's a common phrase for inmates that do long bids that they rot in prison. Two, Drake is claiming that Ross's career will now rot, meaning he's about to fall off without Drake's help. And three, coming off the line about jail bars, he's referring to the type of steel used for the bars, which is called wrought iron.
I gotta give a thanks to my days in construction for helping me with that last one, but that line is crazy. It is.
House sitting on some land, but it's out where no one even really know y'all.
Bro, whoa.
You coming off the meaning he's about to fall off without Drake's help. And three, coming off the line about jail bars, he's referring to the type of steel used for the bars, which is called wrought iron.
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. Are you fucking actually kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me? Wrought iron.
I gotta give a thanks to my days in construction for helping me with that last one, but
No one even really know y'all niggas.
Drake continues to fire at Rick Ross here as they were clowning each other over real estate, and in this case, Drake seems to be referring to Ross's mansion in Georgia, essentially saying that it's in the middle of nowhere.
Bitches gotta drive 2 hours for you pay 'em just to give a blowjob, nigga.
Again, Drake continues to take shots at Ross by claiming that he's so out the way that women need to drive 2 hours just to get to him, and he's also insinuating that Ross has to pay in order to get women at all. Lastly, he frames it like Ross only...
I mean... Yeah. Right?
pays for blowjobs, potentially hinting that he's too fat to even have sex.
Like, that's actually... Wait. That's actually really funny. Because when you say that, it's like... It's kind of like pathetic. It's like, why are you laughing? I just would love to see the guy who just wrote Why Are You Laughing? Like, I would love to see what that guy actually looks like in real life. You know? Like, we're all sitting here laughing at this line, and there's one guy, oh, dude, why are you laughing? What the fuck does this guy look like in real life, bro? Do I need to pull up the Champion hoodie sales? Do I need to pull them up? Because last I checked, the fucking double and triple XLs sold out the quickest, bro. So, do I need to pull this shit up? Do I need to figure this shit out? I got dudes complaining to me, bro, why were there not enough triple XLs? And you're sitting here and you're trying to say that I'm in the same boat as Rick Ross, who is morbidly obese? Yo, bro. Yo, dude. There's a better chance that you look like Rick Ross based on statistics, based on the evidence, the sales, than me, who I'm sitting here in front of you, in front of the camera.
Which tells me that Drake has probably been talking with some of the women that's connected to Ross.
Must've started up a snowball, cause my last record deal was 400 ends. These days, that's a low ball, nigga.
On social media, Ross seemed to claim that he had more money than Drake, and in response, Drake is essentially saying that Ross must be high to believe this, noting that his own record deal alone was worth $400 million. And he's saying that now that's low.
Who's next on the list? Which one of my so-called niggas need a share for the clip?
So it's here where Drake leans into the 20v1 narrative, highlighting that everyone he's currently beefing with were once his friends, people he helped in various ways. And he's framing it like he's thinking, like which one of these bums am I gonna fire on next?
Always knew I had to smoke y'all niggas.
And I saw that many people were saying that Drake should have just focused his diss solely on Kendrick Lamar instead of all these other artists, and I have to agree with this. It seems to me that Drake noticed the success of the Push-Ups track and how the 20v1 narrative really resonated with a lot of listeners, so he decided to continue with this approach. Remember, in the beginning, people were like, holy shit, Drake is taking on everyone by himself. Like, he's not backing down.
Good kid, Mad City van, Will Potter latch and make the door slide. Tears running down my cheek, laughing at you pussy dying, it's a war cry.
Drake starts flexing, claiming ownership of Kendrick's family van. He opens the latch and lines up all his enemies for a metaphorical drive-by. He claims that taking out his ops will be so satisfying that he'll laugh until tears run down his face.
Weekend music getting played in all the spots where boys got a little more pride.
Drake then turns his attention to The Weeknd and insinuates that his music is being played in places of the LGBT community.
That's why all your friends dip into Atlanta paying just to find a tour guide.
So again, following with the theme here, Atlanta is ranked as one of the gayest cities in America, and Drake claims that the XO crew are frequent flyers.
Able run your fucking bread, need to buy some more chains for some more guys. Let me find another street nigga I could take to the game courtside.
It's here where Drake is speaking from the perspective of The Weeknd's manager Cash, framing the situation like Cash is asking The Weeknd for more money so that he can spend it on lavish items for other men. I found many examples of him doing this where he's bought chains for people like Travis Scott, Playboi Carti, Lil Wayne, Ken Carson, Gunna, Post Malone, Future, Metro, Young Thug, French Montana, and while I couldn't find any examples of him courtside with other rappers, I'm sure Drake also said this for a reason. He's pretty much doubling down on what he said on Push-Ups.
Cash blowing, able bread out here tricking. Shit we do for bitches, he doing for niggas.
I think Push-Ups is underrated. Like, I listen to that record still, all the time.
Let me get a used Ferrari for a rapper, take the nigga on a horse ride.
Drake continues to rap from Cash's perspective, explaining to The Weeknd that he needs money to purchase sports cars for other men. He specifically mentions a Ferrari, famous for its horse logo, implying that Cash is giving other rappers a horse ride. It is a pretty clever line, as Ferraris are typically two-seater cars, while horse rides are often seen as a romantic activity for couples. And I couldn't find any examples of him buying cars for other rappers, but Drake probably knows something that we don't.
Anything to take a spotlight off the fact the boss is a drugged out little punk sissy from the north side.
This line is a direct diss aimed at The Weeknd, who owns the XO record label, positioning him as the boss. Drake accuses Cash and The Weeknd's crew of doing everything possible to conceal the fact that The Weeknd is a closeted drug user and homosexual. Drake refers to him as a punk, which is jail slang for being gay, and reinforces this with the term sissy, another word associated with homosexuality. Finally, he points out that The Weeknd is from the North Side, referencing Toronto's location in North America. When it comes to XO, Cash and Sal are from the Middle East somewhere, so he's making it clear he's talking about The Weeknd, the boss, the guy from the North Side.
Rock him talking shit again. Gas cause you hit my being first, nigga. Do the math who I was hitting in.
It's here where Drake fires at ASAP Rocky, whose real name is Rakim, as Rocky dissed Drake on Future's track Show of Hands, where he flexed on Drake for sleeping with his baby mama, Sophie.
I smashed before you birth, son. Flacco hit it first, son.
I don't know why ASAP thought this was a good angle.
That's one of the worst. That could be one of the worst things to brag about. Why? Dude, again, you're saying these things, like, people are saying things that's what you're saying? That's your big thing you're gonna say, bro? That's just sad, bro. Like, that's like, no, think about it, bro. That's actually sad that he actually thought he had to say something like that. Think about it, bro.
Because he really walked into this one. Drake really flips this narrative on its head as he has a long history of dating Rocky's wife, Rihanna. Rocky is then asked to do the math to determine who Drake was sleeping with at that time. And while we do know that Rocky dated Sophie at one point, there are no concrete dates for us to base this on, but it's obvious Drake was sleeping with Rihanna at this time. So again, like, Rocky set Drake up for a slam dunk rebuttal here. And I honestly feel like Drake is dropping another clue here with the word math, as this is a subject that Rihanna is academically gifted in, even choosing to teach it in places like Africa.
Rihanna spent time with students at a local school. She helped them with math.
Dude, what?
He's pretty much saying, look, Rocky, if you can't figure out the math, bro, just go see the tutor. She'll fill you in. Something else I noticed is that Drake calls Rocky, Metro Boomin, and The Weeknd by their first names, and I see this as more of a slight to Rocky, where he's more or less saying, none of you guys are rappers to me.
I ain't even know you rap still, cause they only talking about your fit again.
Drake trolls ASAP Rocky for focusing more on the fashion industry than releasing music. This could also be in reference to how over the last few years, Rocky is publicized far more for his fashion than for his music. It was a while back that Joe Budden said the exact same thing.
When the fuck was niggas talking about ASAP Rocky?
So Drake echoes the same sentiment here, claiming that nobody talks about Rocky's music, all you ever hear about is the fashion.
Probably gotta have a kid again before you think of dropping any shit again.
Furthermore, Rocky hasn't dropped an album since 2018, and in the span he had 2 children, one in 2022 and another in 2023. He's basically saying that there's a better chance of ASAP having another kid than putting out music that anyone cares about.
Even when you do drop, they gon' say you should've modeled cause it's mid again.
Drake claims that when ASAP Rocky does drop an album, it's gonna be lackluster, and it's here where he takes shots at Rocky's 2018 album Testing. While the album did have mixed reviews, it was his lowest selling album, and Drake states that the next album won't be any different, and that the people will say that he should have just modeled.
Smoking 50, but they should have put you on the first one trying to get it in.
Drake continues firing on Rocky, claiming that he's smoking Fenty, which is short for the drug fentanyl, but also the name of Rihanna's beauty line. It's here where Drake also mentions Rocky's claims on Future and Metro's Show of Hands, where Rocky basically said, if you guys were dissing Drake, you should have called me earlier. You know I'm down.
Call up Pluto, Metro should've put me on the first one.
Metro and Future had 2 albums back to back dissing Drake, but Rocky was only on the second one. So he's basically saying, you should have just called me the first time. I would have been down.
Ask Fring if this a good idea, the next time you cut it in a bed again.
Drake brings up his nickname for Rihanna, Fring, which is related to the TV show Breaking Bad, as she was a fan of the show, and Gustavo Fring was her favorite character. By bringing up the nickname too, that's pretty petty, because he's reminding ASAP, I got an intimate past with your wife, right?
She'll even tell you leave the boy alone before you get your hair split again.
He then mentions that even Rihanna herself will tell Rocky to leave Drake alone before he gets his head split again. He's pretty much saying Rihanna even knows that Drake is a way better rapper. She's gonna tell Rocky, look, bro, like, you don't want to go at Drake anymore. He just mopped you on Family Matters. You should probably leave him alone. However, the line about getting his head split has some very clever wordplay, as not only did Rocky suffer a head injury, but on Breaking Bad, the character Fring had an accident where he lost half of his face. It really is high-level writing, and maybe he should have stuck to Kendrick, but you cannot deny that he really is cooking these guys.
Nah, that's actually, nah, bro.
Shit made me sick to my stomach. We ain't never really been through it.
Now, Drake seems to take it light on Future in this beef, more or less saying that they don't really have any major issues.
Lil Wayne, he a fucking lame, so I know he had to be an influence.
Drake name drops Metro Boomin and claims that he's the likely cause of the issues between Drake and Future.
These niggas had a plan and they finally found a way to rope you into it. 2 separate albums dissing, I just did a cam to it. Niggas skimmed through it.
Drake claims that he didn't pay much attention to the 2 albums that Metro and Future released that were filled with disses aimed at him, describing them as mediocre and only skimming through it. He then makes a clever wordplay involving Kim Kardashian, who owns the clothing brand Skims, referencing how she promoted Kanye's Donda album with the sound muted. Fans quickly caught on to the subtle jab, likely directed at Kanye, who had appeared on a remix of the Like That record.
Me and Savage had the hose dripping wet at shows, almost had to swim to it.
Coming off the last line about Kim Kardashian, Drake appears to mention her again here, referencing a video that surfaced of his It's a Blur tour, where Kim looks very happy to see him, and Drake seemingly ignores her. By Drake claiming that him and Savage had all the hose dripping wet at their shows, he could be referencing Kim's behavior in this very moment. I'm pretty sure he slept with her before, but he could have piped her down that night. Who knows? So a lot of people seem to take this line as if Drake was saying that Baby Keem was physically writing for Kendrick, but I don't think that's what he means. If you look at Kendrick's album, Mr. Morale, Baby Keem is listed as a writer on N95, Die Hard, and Savior, and these were some of the standout tracks. And some of that credit, I think, was just for ad-libs. Then we got tracks like Range Brothers and Family Ties, which were truly in heavy rotation, and more in line with something that Drake would probably consider to be hit-worthy music. I've argued that Kendrick's verse on the Like That record was some of the best rapping that we got in the entire beef, and that record was #1, and so was Not Like Us.
Ross calling me the white boy, and the shit kinda got a ring to it. Cause all these rappers waving white flags while the whole fucking club sing to it.
Rick Ross had referred to Drake as a white boy on countless occasions, and it's here where Drake seems to be predicting the outcome of the war, assuming that after Family Matters, all of his enemies would bow out of the race. You know, I do like the line, but again, like, this just proves that Family Matters was the one. This was the one that people were supposed to be singing in the club. This was supposed to embarrass everyone.
Murder scene on your man tonight, then come to vigil with the candlelight.
It's here where Drake has a religious reference, which is a good indication that this is directed at Kendrick. He claims that Family Matters will be the death of Kendrick, and that he's so petty he'll show up to the candlelight vigil.
Body at the fucking body, and you know Rick reading my Miranda rights.
Drake uses a play on words here to reference Rick Ross's former job as a CO. He claims that he's got bodies dropping left, right, and center, all while Ross reads him his Miranda rights. You know when the police tell you, you know you got the right to remain silent, get a lawyer, yada yada. He's claiming that Rick Ross is doing that part.
I'm going on vacation, I hope next time y'all plan it right.
Drake claims that now that he's addressed all the other rappers who have been dissing him, he's now finally ready to take a break. Now, obviously, as it stands right now, some of these lines did not age very well, but he definitely cooked A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd, and his crew, and Rick Ross in this verse.
Cause you gotta pay for saying my name. Guess now niggas understand the price, man. What?
Drake really is rapping on that verse. He's locked in, he's sliding on the beat, real smooth. Like, I don't know how anyone could really deny that he really is rapping in this verse. It's at this point where we get to the third beat of the track, and the visuals change to a shot of the new Ho King restaurant, which was mentioned by Kendrick in Euphoria. It's wild how much business this place got just because Kendrick mentioned it. Next, we see a Toronto-based rapper that we haven't seen with Drake too often on camera, and he goes by the name of TV Gucci. A friend of mine, Ricky from the We Love Hip Hop Network, recently interviewed this guy, and here's all that he would say.
Beastie, I don't involve myself
in politics. So the question you're asking, G, is like a politic question. You know what I mean? Like, I can say something positive or negative, and it can be, somebody will take it into their own way. So me personally, G, I come from the streets, man. We don't talk about beef, fam.
Next, they begin to walk into the restaurant, and on the left-hand side, a quick shot of what looks like Jeremiah, Drake's right-hand man next to Chubbs. The scene then shows TV Gucci approaching both Drake and Chubbs, who are seated inside the restaurant having a conversation around some food. Interestingly enough, after this restaurant was mentioned by Kendrick on Euphoria, they created a Kendrick Lamar special, and it appears that Drake has ordered that meal as all the items appear on the table with the exception of the beef and broccoli.
I heard there's a Kendrick Lamar special. Is that true? No problem. All right, I'm excited, man.
Was the new Ho King House special fried rice. Order this was this deep fried shrimp dish. Order this their spicy chicken wings. But this beef broccoli definitely came hot off the wok.
Now, I can only speculate, but I feel that this may have been intentional, as the camera clearly pans over the food, and the absence of the beef portion of the meal could indicate that it's here where the beef ends. A number of empty plates are shown, meaning that they did eat something, whereas the other dishes look untouched.
It really reminded me of what Drake said to Meek. He served me up a cheesesteak, I gave him back a clean plate. Like, there's clean plates on the table, the beef is done.
Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
Drake then comes with a line that made a lot of people laugh. Kendrick has definitely had massive success when it comes to the Grammys, but I believe this line is deeper than how most people see it. Who could forget the 2014 Grammy Awards when Macklemore won Best Rap Album over Kendrick? This result caused an absolute uproar and created a big headache for the Grammys, and it seems like ever since this mistake happened, the Grammys are quick to award Kendrick every single time he's mentioned. The Grammys have been accused of racial bias for many years now, and Drake could be saying that Kendrick getting a Grammy is pretty much like a participation award. He doesn't deserve it, but they're afraid of not giving it to him.
I could see an argument for what Drake is saying. Like, I went through all the Grammys that he's won. Most of them to me were deserved. Many are subjective, and then there are some where I felt like he shouldn't have won.
Where's your uncle at? 'Cause I wanna talk to the man in the house.
Drake appears to make reference to Kendrick's track Auntie Diaries from Mr. Morale, as it's on this track where he reveals that his aunt transitioned to be his uncle. It's here where Drake dishes out a petty line, insinuating that Kendrick's transitioned uncle is more of a man than him.
Look, I got no smoke with the trans community, but that's funny.
As far as the visuals, it's during the bar about the uncle where Drake looks into the camera with a big smile. You'll also notice that Drake is wearing the same FUBU shirt as well as the G-Unit chain that was shown at the beginning of the track.
West Coast niggas do phase, right? Come get this ass whooping, I'm handing them out.
Drake doesn't seem to view Kendrick as being a tough guy at all. Keep in mind, Drake definitely does tower over Kendrick, and he seems entirely open to shooting the fade, meaning to fight in West Coast slang.
You wanna take off for real? Then come get his legacy out of my house.
So, in Euphoria, Kendrick mentioned how he was more than happy to defend Pharrell, and when Drake says to come get his legacy out of his house, he really isn't joking here. Drake purchased a bunch of Pharrell's custom jewelry from an auction, and these are literally some of the most iconic pieces of jewelry in the history of the music business.
If you don't believe me, this is how the auction site described the chains.
One of the most historic pieces of contemporary jewelry that represents an incomparable artist at an incomparable time with incomparable creativity.
And at one point, Drake read those exact same words, and he bought it all.
So these pieces are absolutely iconic in the hip-hop world, and Drake first showcased them in his Jumbotron music video. This is likely how Pharrell discovered that it was Drake who purchased these items.
It's like a different era. It's the end of that era for me.
Look at this, astronaut.
This is the symbol for BBC.
And this whole thing, you know, all this beautiful items, this piece of jewelry still looks like brand new. This is museum pieces, this is museum jewelry. This should really be in a museum.
I mean, the man who made the jewelry himself, Jacob the jeweler, is saying exactly what Drake is saying. This is literally Pharrell's legacy is definitely petty and maybe even a bit childish, but if I had the money and it was my ops, I'd probably do the same thing. Like, fuck that guy, dude, this is mine now. And I saw that a lot of people were quick to accuse Drake of lying about melting the chains.
I melt down the chains that I bought from your boss, give a fuck about all of that heritage shit.
When he says this, he's just messing with him, right? Like, making him think, like, do you really think he would do that? Melt down the chains? Drake's like, oh, that old junk? Yeah, I melted that down, man. That's just junk. It's in these lines where Drake is really taunting Pusha T, as Pharrell was instrumental in his very existence to the music business. It's for this reason that I personally believe that the true reason for Drake purchasing these pieces was really to antagonize Pusha.
Man, I love you, bro, for everything, always. You brought me in this game. You taught me everything.
It's in this clip where Pusha clearly states that Pharrell is the reason why he even has a career, and literally 4 months later, Drake purchased all the items from the auction. Pharrell is even the person that gave Pusha T his name.
Man, you know what? Pharrell actually named me Pusha.
Pharrell did?
Yeah.
So to me, I think this has more to do with why Drake bought these chains in the first place. Not really to get at Pharrell, but more probably to get at Pusha. As far as the visuals go, we now see a man wearing Pharrell's most iconic pieces, and a common misconception here was that the man was the owner of New Hope King, but he's actually a long-standing member of OVO. He goes by the name of OVO Juju, and it's believed that he is Drake's road manager. I'm not 100% sure what this guy does, but he's been around for a long time. He is part of OVO. What's extremely interesting about this, and something that nobody's seen to notice, is that Juju is wearing a lot more jewelry than what was featured in the Jumbotron video. That's because it's here where Drake exposes that he bought even more items, but this time they don't belong to Pharrell. These items are actually Nigo's, who created the Ice Cream and Billionaire Boys companies with Pharrell. It was 1 year after Pharrell's auction that Nigo also had an auction for a bunch of his items, and it's in the Family Matters video where Drake reveals that he bought even more iconic pieces.
What?
As you can see, Drake purchased Nigo's ice cream logo chain, the Running Dog chain, and the Billionaire Boys Club astronaut head. These are literally the characters that represent Pharrell and Nigo's companies, and it's in this video where he reveals, I bought this shit too. Finally, one more thing worth mentioning is that you'll see that both Drake and Juju flex the chains by holding it up by their thumbs, which is exactly how Pharrell showcased these chains many times before. So as obscure as some of these details might be, a lot of people do look past this shit, and that's what I tend to focus on in my videos. Like, these things still do have meaning. It's here where Drake accuses Kendrick of hitting up Tupac's estate to sue him for the tailor-made freestyle, and I don't believe this for 1 second. Tupac's estate actually mentioned Kendrick as being a very respected friend, and a lot of people were upset with Drake when he did this Tupac gimmick. You called it Tupac estate and begged him to sue me and get that shit down. Now, Kendrick being a respected friend means maybe they would sue him if he asked, but I just don't buy it. As far as the visuals, we do see a photo of Drake and his son Adonis, which depicts a loving relationship between the two, hence the title of the track, Family Matters. And by all accounts, and I don't think we have any reason to really believe otherwise, Drake does seem to be a great dad to his kid. Next in the video, we see Tupac's ring, which Drake did purchase for $1 million, along with the mysterious letter that is written in Spanish. As you can see, the letter clearly has the infamous signature of Pablo Escobar, and although some of the writing is blocked out, I was able to find this exact letter online when it was available for purchase. It appears that Drake was able to obtain a very rare artifact here, as this lot in particular was for a book that Escobar himself published while in prison. It's estimated that around 10 of these books are in existence, and just to show you guys that I found the correct item, you can see they're a mirror image of one another. A lot of fans speculated about the Spanish writing as some of it's blocked out, but it was translated on the auction website as saying, "With much appreciation for a great friend, very serious, very honest, and very brave, signed Pablo Escobar," with his fingerprint. What's interesting about this book itself is it really showcases just how powerful Pablo was, as it's within these pages where he mocks law enforcement and political leaders. So even when he was in jail, he was so powerful that they couldn't stop him from publishing a book that mocked the police and, mocked politicians. He did whatever he wanted. Most of the copies of this book were burned when Escobar escaped from prison, so it is pretty amazing that Drake got his hands on one of these. Now, when it comes to the symbolism of what this could mean in the Family Matters video, I can only guess at this, but Escobar lived by a specific set of family values. He went to great lengths to ensure that his family was protected and that they were able to live a life of luxury. However, at the same time, he was extremely powerful and ruthless when it came to how he handled his business and his enemies. Similar to Drake, many of Escobar's allies and friends would eventually turn against him. So this really could be a powerful statement from Drake on a track titled Family Matters, given the theme of the record and then the fact that there are some parallels in their
Chad, do you guys like this video? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no?
situations.
Personally, my attention span is completely fixed with this video, bro.
Drake suggests that the beef is becoming less significant to him and almost trivial. On the Push-Ups track, Drake sampled Biggie's iconic record, What's Beef, where Biggie defines beef as more than just a disagreement. It's a life-threatening conflict that extends beyond music into the real world. Drake seems to share Biggie's perspective, but in this situation, he doesn't view Kendrick as a street dude or see him as someone that's willing to take it there.
So this battle in Drake's eyes, there's no stress, there's no tension. Like, to him, this doesn't even seem like beef.
Next, we see one of the funniest shots in the video where Drake has two cakes decorated, one saying happy co-parenting and the other saying happy divorce. As I explained earlier, I have a hunch that Drake is bang on with the co-parenting angle. However, Kendrick and Whitney were never married, so this divorce cake could simply be symbolizing the relationship failed due to Kendrick's misdeeds. Drake makes a reference to Kendrick's track Duckworth, and if we're gonna talk about storytelling in music, not just hip-hop, this has to be one of the best storytelling tracks of all time.
Yeah. Your dad was working at KFC.
Yep.
Top Dog went in to rob KFC.
Mm-hmm.
Is this right? Because you've written songs about this.
Yeah.
Drake draws a powerful parallel in this line, implying that while Top Dog may not have literally robbed Kendrick's father, he did exploit him, and Drake suggests that Top Dog has done the same thing to Kendrick, hence the phrase, like father, like son.
And I don't want to hear anybody say that, oh, you don't understand Duckworth, bro. You just don't get it. Like, Kendrick's dad was getting exploited by Top Dog. He was afraid of him. It's no different than what the mob was doing back in the day. The mob was getting free bread and free meat, free whatever they wanted because they were feared. The locals were afraid of them, and it's no different here. It's the same exact thing.
Drake also cleverly references the relationship between Birdman and Wayne, a father and son dynamic that ultimately soured, leading Wayne to sue Birdman over money he believed he was owed.
So it is a pretty hard line, especially coming off Push-Ups, where he accused TDE of extorting Kendrick for 50%.
Anthony set up the plays. Kojo be charging you double for none.
Drake claims that when Kendrick was signed to TDE, Anthony Top Dog was the one that was calling all the shots when it came to business. It's here where he insinuates that Kendrick is absolutely clueless when it comes to business, because it's likely that the creative direction and production of Mr. Morale were driven by Kendrick and his team at PG Lang, and under this direction, the album was the worst-selling project to date. TDE seemingly had limited involvement in this album since it was widely known that this was his last project with them. Drake drives this home even further by making a reference to an artist named Deval Kojo Timothy, who was credited as a producer on 4 of Kendrick's songs from Mr. Morale, and it's here where Drake is saying that without Top Dog, Kendrick is getting ripped off because he doesn't know what he's doing. Drake claims that he got charged double for production on an album that didn't even sell well.
Now, I don't know where Drake got this Kojo info or even if it's true, but I do still like the angle he took. He's basically saying that without TDE, Kendrick's lost. He doesn't know what he's doing, and then he backs that up with the fact that Mr. Morale didn't perform well.
However, this line could be a double entendre, as Anthony is not just the name of Top Dog, but Kendrick's manager as well, and rumors have sparked up that there's potential Kendrick was using bots.
And I gotta be honest, I did not look into any of these bot allegations or any of that, so leave it in the comments, fill me in.
Drake insinuates that the people close to Kendrick are shook because they know Drake has some damaging secrets, but at the same time, they're pretending to be confident in front of Kendrick.
So it didn't age very well, but again, this is how much stock Drake put into this information.
Next, visually, we see a studio, and I did look this up, and it's safe to say that this is indeed Drake's home studio. You'll also notice that a bra is hanging directly to the right of the camera, and it's hard to say who this belongs to, as Drake is known for getting plenty of bras thrown at him while on tour, but you can best believe that this is there for a good reason. It's likely related to a girl connected to any one of these rappers that he's dissing.
I mean, without more context, it's pretty much impossible to find out who owns this thing, but I guarantee it is there for a reason.
You tell me what I shouldn't say, but fucking my nigga, it's already done.
Drake refers to Kendrick's threats on Euphoria when he told Drake not to take things further, and just like I said earlier, this was something that Kendrick clearly felt he needed to get in front of.
We already know it's a 20v1. We already know why you went #1. It's clearly because of the boy.
Drake is quick to remind everyone that he's up against a lot of people in this war, and he's quick to take credit for helping Kendrick go #1 with the Like That record, and no matter how you want to spin this thing, Drake has a very valid point. Kendrick's last album didn't have a single #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. In fact, the last time he had a #1 was nearly 8 years ago with Humble. It wasn't until 2024 that he secured 2 #1 records with Like That and Not Like Us. So at the end of the day, out of the 4 #1s that Kendrick has, 2 of them are dissing Drake.
So whether you like it or not, it's a fact. Those records wouldn't have went #1 without the element of dissing Drake.
Yo, mods. Take care of it real quick. Scroll up if you have to. I don't want you to miss one person. Fucking stupid ass brain dead. Fucking 0 attention span.
They wouldn't have.
Right about for the big 3. It's only Big D in this video proof.
Drake responds to Kendrick's claims on the Like That record when he said this.
Motherfuck the big 3, nigga, it's just big me, nigga, bum.
So Drake is repositioning the placement again by claiming that it's only Big D, and this acts as a double entendre where 1, Big D is obviously short for Big Drake, and 2, he says there's video proof because a video leaked of Drake showing his...
I'm not explaining this one, you guys. If you know, you know.
And we can't forget that this line is obviously another shot at J. Cole as well, as Drake again counts him out.
I mean, if you ask me, it seems like Drake does not mess with Cole anymore. He's been taking a bunch of shots at him.
It's at this point in the video where we see a shot of memorabilia that is likely kept in Drake's studio. First, I want to point out the bobblehead on the far right, which is a limited edition Mac Dre figure from his album The US Open. Mac Dre is synonymous with the Bay Area, and Drake is a well-documented superfan.
Drake actually brought Mac Dre's mother on stage one time.
I don't know if y'all know who this is, but she goes
by the name of Mac Wanda, and she birthed a man named Mac Dre.
Next on the far left is a Michael Jackson action figure from circa 1995. I found the actual doll, and it is a fairly rare special edition that does have a button on it that when pressed plays the black and white song.
He's just really mocking Kendrick even more here.
The next figure took me an extremely long time to find. I couldn't really tell who the character was at all, but this is a retro toy of Jimi Hendrix from a company called Mego, and it depicts his infamous performance at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967. However, I feel like Drake has this in the video for a very particular reason, as Hendrix was well known for surrounding himself with white groupies, and Kendrick is on record as saying he wanted to be remembered someday just like Jimi Hendrix.
So Hendrix was with the white groupies, and so was Kendrick. And I got a feeling that Drake knows more about this than what we know.
Lastly, we have the signed glove, which also took a long time to find because I kept trying to tie this glove to Michael Jackson, but I eventually did link this autograph to none other than Tiger Woods. Now, Tiger in particular is a well-documented milkman who, like Kendrick, has a past of infidelity.
Son should go play at the park. Two light-skinned kids, the shit would be cute.
Drake begins with a hypothetical scenario suggesting that their two sons go on a play date at the park together. He uses this opportunity to emphasize that both children are light-skinned. Although Kendrick's child isn't anywhere near to as light as Drake's, Drake leverages this to subtly accuse Kendrick of hypocrisy.
So this is the beginning of a framework for what's to come, but basically he's just reminding the whole world that this is Kendrick's reality, right? He does have mixed children, and he does seem to prefer lighter complected women.
Unless you don't want to be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you.
He follows this up with a funny remark hinting that Kendrick might feel embarrassed to be seen with his son due to his complexion.
And this is really the beginning of him setting up the framework to claim that Kendrick really wants to be with white chicks, right? That's truly what he wants. But because he's Kendrick Lamar and he has this persona, he's not able to really do what he truly wants. He has to hide it. He's embarrassed to be seen.
Something also worth mentioning is that in this third verse, Drake tends to match a lot of the visuals with the lyrics. In the case of this section, we see the outside of a studio booth, and you'll notice that when the sign flashes to signal that a live recording is taking place, it's perfectly timed with the words "seen."
Unless you don't want to be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you.
As far as what this symbolizes, Drake could be simply saying that it's on Family Matters where Kendrick is getting exposed, or Drake could be saying that he has a recording on Kendrick. Now, this is obviously a huge assumption, and it seems unlikely to me because it would have made a lot more sense to put any damaging footage out by now, but we'll have to see where this whole thing goes.
We got it. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Drake's entire sequence here is exceptionally clever. He seizes another chance to mock Kendrick's Black Messiah persona by referencing the line from Kendrick's track, Blacker the Berry. The phrase, blacker the berry, sweeter the juice, is typically associated with black empowerment, symbolizing that darker skin is more beautiful and more connected to one's roots. Kendrick has used this phrase himself, but Drake seems fed up with what he perceives to be one massive grift, because as we all know, romantically, Kendrick doesn't seem to really believe this, as by all accounts, he's attracted to much lighter complexions.
We get that you like to put gin in your juice. We get that you think that you bishop in juice.
Drake then continues to drive home the hypocrisy by implying that Kendrick mixes gin in his juice, which is a reference to Kendrick's history with lighter complected women, as well as a reference to Snoop's West Coast smash, Gin and Juice.
So Drake is pretty much saying, in order for you to, enjoy that pure sweet juice that you're talking about, you're diluting it. You're mixing shit in with it. You're fucking up the concentration of the juice.
Now, to be fair, the exact origin of the phrase blacker the berry, sweeter the juice is unclear, but it was popularized in the early 20th century, and the phrase gained a lot more traction with Wallace Thurman's 1929 novel, Blacker the Berry. We then heard the phrase be repositioned by Tupac
as something that was related to the beauty of black women, but in the book and within the phrase's origin, the saying is far deeper than just that. That's why it's important to note that in Kendrick's version, he does not use the phrase in relation to women at all, as he repurposed it to explore the complexities of black identity and systemic racism. And I did pick up the book. I'm halfway through it. I got it a few days ago. The book so far is a sad reality. The book so far is sad. Drake suggests that Kendrick sees himself as Bishop, the character from the iconic film Juice, played by Tupac. In the movie, Bishop is a ruthless, power-hungry figure who will do anything to get ahead. Kendrick, known for being a huge Tupac fan and drawing significant inspiration from his music, Drake implies that he's trying to emulate Tupac, striving to match that same aggressive and ambitious persona. And you know, there's been claims about Pac playing Bishop and that how he pretty much became that character after, and that character wasn't really him either.
When you put your hands on your girl, is it self-defense cause she bigger than you?
So this is the first time that Drake has mentioned anything to do with domestic abuse between Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney, and by no means do I condone domestic violence, but this line is pretty funny because Kendrick's girl is indeed taller than him. So it's here where he claims that Kendrick put hands on Whitney, but he still manages to get another short joke off. Now regarding the visuals, it's here where things become quite cryptic and intriguing. The scene begins with someone driving a Cadillac and entering a gated property. This property belongs to Drake's neighbor, Andrew Kernew, whom we will discuss in more detail later. On the left-hand side, you'll see a pirate, which was placed there to honor a social justice pirate named Sam Bellamy. Sam was one of the most respected pirates of all time, and he coincidentally died on Andrew's birthday. So these things that I'm explaining right now aren't really important for Drake, but I'm just explaining what's in the video.
Your back is up against the curb. You digging for dirt, should be digging for proof.
So again, it's here where Drake proves even more that the information that he was holding was something he felt was very significant for this battle. Drake labels Kendrick as someone who's in hot water and claims he's doing whatever he can to find dirt on Drake. So Drake is asking for proof, and that's something that neither one of these guys have been good at giving.
Why did you move to New York? Is it cause you live in that bachelor life?
So I talked about the New York line in my tailor-made breakdown, and like I said before, I'm of the opinion that Kendrick and Whitney are indeed separated. I think Drake got this part bang on, but again, this is just my opinion, but ultimately, it is the furthest thing from a far-fetched take to have.
Proposed in 2015, but don't want to make her your actual wife.
Drake seems to be insinuating that they've been together for a long time, but this isn't what Kendrick really wants, and he's never really truly been committed.
I'm guessing this wedding ain't happening right, cause we know the girls that you actually like.
Kendrick did propose in 2015, and while it's not a big deal to never get married, for a devoted Christian and a man of God, this is typically a priority. However, Drake has already referenced the facts regarding the cheating with white women, and he insinuates that this is what Kendrick really wants. Now, as far as the visuals, we see someone that to me looks like Drake, but I can't be sure.
The darkest secrets are coming to light. It's all on your face like what happened to Mike.
Drake embraces the old age saying, "What's done in the darkness will come to light," implying that no matter how sneaky or deceitful actions may be, they will eventually be exposed. Again, we get some clever wordplay here from Drake, as we have another Michael Jackson reference. MJ suffered from vitiligo, a condition that presents itself with white patches on the skin. It's here where Drake claims that all the things that Kendrick has done to grease Whitney over the years is written all over his face. And even if this is in Mr. Morale, that doesn't change the fact that it's a good angle. He's framing it like Kendrick's a closeted milkman, like white chicks is really what he really wants, what he's really into. The scene then flashes to Jeremiah, Drake's right-hand man next to Chubbs. As many of you know, in Meet the Grams, Kendrick claimed that Drake had a secret daughter, and many speculated that the picture of the little girl on Andrew's property was Drake's way of trolling this planted information, since Drake will later claim on the Heart Part 6 that he fed him these details.
However, after some research, the girl pictured is actually Andrew's daughter, as I found the exact same photo on his Instagram account.
Oh shit, it's all making sense. Maybe I'm Prince and you actually Mike.
Out of all the Prince and Mike flips that we got in this battle, this one is by far the hardest. For context, Drake was always compared with Mike, whereas Kendrick
Nah, I think the King to a Prince one was the best one, but
was more likened to Prince. However, Drake takes the chance to flip this thing on its head, claiming that it's actually Kendrick who's like Mike.
Michael was praying his features would change so people believe that he's actually white.
MJ went to great lengths to conceal the patches caused by a skin condition. He was pretty self-conscious about this, and Drake claims that MJ prayed that his features would change so that he would look Caucasian. So just like Mike, who was ashamed of the white patches, Kendrick is ashamed of his preference for white women.
Top will make you do features for change. Get on pop records and rap for the whites.
So coming off the previous line, Drake draws parallels between Mike's situation and Kendrick's situation by claiming that TDE forced Kendrick to do features for white pop artists that he likely didn't want to do. Hence, just like Mike, he was also praying that his features would change. It's the best Prince MJ flip that we got, for sure. It's a very hard double. As far as the white features, we're talking Dido, Maroon 5, U2, Taylor Swift, Imagine Dragons, Robin Thicke, and no, this is not Drake's catalog, this is Kendrick's.
Fuck, man. See, this is damning, bro.
I know people like to label Drake as a pop artist, and there's an argument to be made for that, but no matter how you want to spin it, Drake does not do music with full-on pop artists.
He doesn't, bro. Look at this. Look at this lineup right here. Kendrick has a song with all of them.
Like Maroon 5. I mean, Kendrick was doing records with full-on white pop artists, and Drake doesn't do that. That's a fact.
I love that song.
Which one? Shake It Off?
Shake It Off. I just wanna shake, you gotta shake it off, shake it off.
And wait, you say your brother Jermaine, but you want him to stay out of the light.
And Drake continues with the MJ flip, as he had a brother named Jermaine, and by all accounts, MJ allegedly did whatever he could to blackball his brother from reaching stardom. Then we got the fact that Jermaine Jackson had a documentary made about himself called Into the Light. However, the line is actually a really hard triple, as Drake is also referring to J. Cole, whose real name is Jermaine. Now, what Drake means by this is entirely speculation, but I do have a theory, as this beef was a massive moment for hip-hop, one of the biggest we've seen in decades, and although J. Cole did jump into the ring for a moment, he bowed out before things even kicked off. So it's here where Drake really plays off his decade-long narrative that Kendrick is someone that is desperate for attention, and in this case, Drake is accusing him of manipulating J. Cole from being involved so that he can have all this spotlight to himself. I don't know how you couldn't admit that that whole sequence was crazy, because that whole MJ thing that's all phenomenal, man. It is.
I get off the plane and nothing has changed. I headed to Lala with all of my ice.
Drake takes the chance to respond to Kendrick's claims of how he was going to be snatching chains.
I'm snatching chains and burning tattoos. It's up.
Drake really devalues Kendrick's pull in his own city, as he claims that when he touches down in LA, nothing will have changed. Drake references an upscale restaurant called Delilah, which he's frequent so often that they even have a drink named after him called the Champagne Poppy. Drake makes the claim that he's going to this establishment with all his jewelry, which is similar to what he said on Push-Ups.
I'll be rocking every fucking chain I own next visit, ayy.
So Drake's claiming he's going to his favorite spot, he's gonna be kicked back, he's gonna have all of his jewelry on, and Kendrick has no pull. There's nothing will have changed.
This shit gotta be over by now for anyone out here that's calling it right.
That's what I'm doing, is calling it right. That's all I've done this whole entire beef. Check the channel, check the catalog. I've been showing both sides, both perspectives, and being fair. When it comes to Family Matters, you can't sit there and say that there's not plenty of bars on this track that don't deserve props,
because there is. Like, for anyone that's just gonna shit all over this record and call it garbage and trash and surface level, like, if you're one of those people, you're either A, an extreme deranged fan of Kendrick, meaning you literally worship a celebrity, or your hatred for Drake is that extreme that you can't even give him a compliment.
You're dead. You're dead.
Drake says you're dead 3 times, which could very well be related to the 3 gunshots that we heard earlier. However, I feel what he's really trying to get across is that this track, along with the visuals, was intended to be a funeral for Kendrick. There's also the fact that he does have 3 beat switches on this record in particular, and to date, Family Matters was the 3rd diss track from Drake.
And now we can get into these really weird and cryptic visuals.
Next, we see Drake having a conversation with the owner of the property, Andrew Kernew. Now, before I get into any of the visuals here, I need to explain more about Andy and who he actually is. First off, there's been a lot of speculation about Andrew online, and I've done extensive research on him. No, he is not a full-on patched Hells Angels member, but he's as close as you can get, meaning he may as well be. Andrew is heavily connected to the club as he has friends and family that are full-on patch members, and by all accounts, he became involved with the HA organization from a very young age. I was able to find out that his nickname on the streets was Big Head, and I even found his name in a well-known Hells Angels book. It's in these pages where Andrew comes up as one of the main targets for police, whose mission was obviously to take down the HA.
Now, Andrew would eventually get arrested, and some of these crimes are things that, even to this day, he claims he's innocent.
Andy would go on to find himself in and out of prison for a total of 9 years, but most noteworthy was in 2002 when he spent time in Toronto's Don Jail, which is considered to be the most violent jail in Canadian history.
With that said, the visuals in Family Matters should make a lot more sense now.
As you can see from the visuals here, Andrew and Drake are having a conversation in front of a strange concrete structure. However, this is not just any structure, as this is the actual prison cell that Andrew was held in when he did time.
Andrew literally found a way to buy the physical cell that he was in, and that's what's on his property.
Fans also took notice of the mysterious piece of paper pinned to the outside of the jail cell and assumed that this was more information that Drake had on Kendrick, but these claims couldn't be further from the truth. I was able to find that the piece of paper on the outside of the jail cell is an article of when Andrew was attacked at the jail during a 2002 riot.
I think it's a pretty hard flex to buy the actual jail cell that you were in, being as successful as he is now, knowing that this was the cell that you lost your eye in when you got attacked. He got stabbed in the eye, right?
Now, I'd be doing this dude pretty dirty if I just labeled him as some ex-con biker guy, because he went on to become extremely educated. He owns a chain of dental clinics. He's got the biggest property on Bridle Path. He's Justin Bieber's godfather. He's got a crazy rags to riches story.
His story resonated with me because I found out his family is from the same place as mine, which we didn't grow up with no silver spoon. Like, it made sense he grew up poor, right?
With all that said, what is the significance of Andrew in this video? Well, I think the purpose is to further cement Drake's connection to the Hells Angels. It seems as though Drake has deep ties with the organization, as they do respect him and likely see him as a brother. I mean, here are 2 posts from Drake of motorcycles signed by Sonny Barger, a guy who often gets mistaken for creating the Hells Angels because he's that well known. It's also interesting to note that Sonny founded the Oakland, California chapter.
Drake's been spotted
Damn.
with HA members many times.
Damn.
He's wearing the support gear. He's mentioned it in music. And that's because Drake is clicked up with them.
A track titled Family Matters is powerful because this is how the club operates. When you befriend the club in the way that Drake has, you're now considered family. The HA organization lives by a specific set of codes and values,
that differ from everyday civilians.
Dude.
Drake is 100% good with the Hells Angels, the West Toronto chapter to be specific. And he is someone that grew up with black gangs in government housing. He was a J Unit Supermax inmate for dangerous offenders. Many of the inmates during that time were murdered, but Andy is still alive and thriving.
They hired a crisis management team to clean up the fact that you beat on your queen. The picture you painted ain't what it seemed. You did.
Drake seems to be referencing an incident that allegedly occurred at the Hard Rock Cafe in 2014, where it was rumored that Kendrick was involved in an altercation with a woman. Although Kendrick denied these allegations and the story...
Kendrick denied those allegations, but he also denied a bunch of other shit and lied too, so... You know... I mean, he already proved in that interview alone he lied twice.
Eventually faded from public attention, Drake appears to highlight on this track that the woman involved was not just anyone, but that it was his queen, Whitney. Now, there's a video of a security guard who claims that Kendrick was indeed responsible for this incident.
Because, like, half of her face was, like, blown out, pretty much. She was with a certain rapper who had assaulted her. His first name was Kendrick. Kendrick Lamar? Yeah. There was cops there, and we didn't find out it was Kendrick until later.
And it's at this point where the Who Kid drop from Drake from push-ups starts to get a little more interesting. When we explore this further, the Who Kid drop wasn't just a reference to the Dave Free and Whitney allegations, but it pointed us right into the direction of when Kendrick performed in Las Vegas on May 3rd,
Oh my... Dude, no, bro. Nah, bro. This is literally, like... This is so... Like, every line... Oh my god.
2014, with DJ Who Kid playing the very next day. Then we can't forget that Drake dropped his Family Matters record on May 3rd, so this was all extremely calculated. I can guarantee Kendrick did not want these allegations coming to light again. He picked up on that drop in push-ups right away, knew what it meant, and he acted accordingly.
Fabricating stories on the family front, cause you heard Mr. Morale.
It's called a safety net, right? That's what that is.
If you take it there, I'm taking it further.
Now, what we do know is that Kendrick did indeed make it to this performance. As you can see, this is when he first arrived at the event, and this is him with his friends at the rehab pool. He was slated to perform early that Saturday at 10 a.m. I also found a photo where he's in his hotel suite after the performance, and this photo was likely taken midday. I tried my best to pinpoint what exact suite this was, meaning what hotel was this at, but I couldn't figure it out. I think it would also be helpful to find out what hotel he was at, right? So if you guys could find it, go right ahead. Next, we also know that Kendrick didn't just hang back to chill at the suite that night, as we have photos of him at the pre-party for the Mayweather fight. As you can see, the date by Alamy is clearly listed as Las Vegas, May 3rd, 2014. Interestingly enough, the bodyguard also stated that this incident took place during Memorial Day weekend or at a fight.
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend? I don't remember.
However, another layer comes into play here, as we also have a photo of Kendrick with Whitney at this exact pre-party. As you can see, Alamy clearly tags this photo as being at a pre-party for a Mayweather fight on May 3rd. We also know that Kendrick made it to the fight that night, as I found a photo of him at the event.
Bro, ask yourself this, bro. Why would that random girl make that up all those years ago, bro? Why the fuck would she make that up, bro?
And that's when the fight took place, May 3rd. The main fight took place that night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it went the full 12 rounds, wrapping up at around 1 a.m. With all that said, we now have a fairly decent timeline of what Kendrick's day looked like up until early in the morning of May 4th. Based on what the bodyguard is saying, and based on the info I just shared, it seems like Kendrick would have went back to his hotel that night between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., and this is likely when the incident would have took place. So when we look at the timeline I presented, we got to at least admit that the bodyguard's info aligns with it, right?
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend, I don't remember.
Also important to note, even if this incident did take place on Memorial Day weekend, it still wouldn't look much better for Kendrick because he also performed in Vegas during that time as well.
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend, I don't remember.
I mean, if you don't like the info, just call me a culture vulture. That'll make you feel better. Secondly, there is information from a news outlet called Media Takeout, which reported on the incident when it occurred. According to Media Takeout, both TDE and a crisis management firm contacted them demanding that the article be taken down.
Dude. You got the woman who said she was there when the call came in, saw Whitney's face all beat up. What's her reason for lying? Drake's lying, they're lying, she's lying, the articles are lying, everyone's lying. Everything's a lie. Everything is a lie. Right?
Claiming that the story was entirely false. And as it stands right now today, this is all we got. Everything I just showed you guys is what we got. So I'm going to leave this on you guys. Keep in mind, these are harsh allegations, right? So keep that in mind. We've got circumstantial clues, but we don't have, there's literally no concrete evidence that he did this. So with that said, do you think the story's true and TDE hid this? Or do you think this is just all fabricated bullshit? For me, I'll be honest, I could never put this on Kendrick's jacket without documentation, pictures, something, right? It's just, these are harsh allegations. So in closing, finally wrapping this thing up, I think Family Matters is totally slept on because it is indeed a solid diss record. I think the hate that this record is getting right now will not last forever. I believe that this record has some elements of truth to it, and I'm confident that this will age better in time. My track record in predicting this entire beef has been pretty accurate, and it's been you, the audience, who have complimented me on my success in doing that. I can guarantee you, all the people that made content for the last 5 months shitting all over this record, none of that content's going to age well. In 5, 10, 15 years from now, people are going to look at this record differently, and at least they'll have a good breakdown to go to.
That was a very well thought out video, and he did his thing.
I thought this was masterful.
I could tell What's the Dirt analyzes. Not only that, but he listens to a lot of hip hop.
This was amazing. That breakdown was dope, man.
He did a great job, bro.
I'd argue that. I think What's the Dirt's probably the most exciting new channel in hip hop right now.
And that guy, What's the Dirt on YouTube?
Yeah.
I watched a bunch of his videos.
Oh, he's dope.
He's dope.
Being on YouTube and watching What's the Dirt on, the breakdown, I appreciate the Drake record a little more. That shit was fire.
He was going to.
Yeah.
But there's a long history of Kendrick and J. Cole kind of taking shots at each other. Shout out to my boy What's the Dirt. He got a great YouTube channel where he's broken down all of this in extreme detail.
What's the Dirt is so dope,
He
bro.
kills it, right? His
He is
Kendrick
so
and
fire.
Drake.
Be quality, bro. That shit is so hard, dog. Run it back.
And shout out to my dude, What's the Dirt? Because I do like him. I do.
Oh yes, he's dope.
What's the Dirt? Shout out to that person. The homie looked like he did a good job.
I saw that clip on YouTube. The guy did a good job. He did a good job with that.
Came across my.
That's crazy. This guy's Nostradamus of rap.
Fresh out the club on my way back to the mansion. You know where I'm from.
Wow, man. We just watched a 2.5-hour breakdown of Family Matters. And it's crazy that there's still things months and months later that we uncover. And like Drake said, lyrics begin to reveal themselves over time periods. It's facts, bro. It's facts. And as far as I'm concerned, Kendrick fans are hypocrites. Big old hypocrites. Big old hypocrites, bro.